What are we sipping tonight? Is it something standard or is it something a bit special? I know that the channel is always about trying to find value, trying to find where the good quality whiskey exists at an accessible and affordable price. But just occasionally, just now and again, is it not nice if we can kind of just push the boat out a wee bit, treat ourselves and get something a wee bit more special? But what if we can do that and still keep an eye on value, availability and price? See you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to Thursday night. I hope you're all comfortable. I hope you've all got something in your glass, and I hope you're ready to sit down with us and have a wee bit of sacred whiskey time together. Welcome to everybody. I think it's a record tonight. We had over 70, had 71 Schrodinger's likes, as Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey likes to call it, the up thumbs before the video even exists, that the thumbs are coming in. I'm very, very grateful for it. I really, really am. It's very reassuring, not just for me to see that, but for guests that are joining as well, to see that people are excited to hang out together in the vPub. I'm really looking forward to tonight. I'm really looking forward to doing something that we don't normally do, and that's talk about whiskies. Pretty much for the whole of tonight, we'll be talking about whiskies that are, generally speaking, expensive, but they're not ridiculously expensive. I'll get to some of the kind of let's say the limits that I've set on myself tonight. The whiskies that, yes, they're special whiskies. They're going to cost a wee bit more, but they're not too expensive, and we can still get our hands on them regardless of where you are in the world. That's the focus of tonight. Whiskies that we can start to think about celebrating again with. There's some light at the end of the tunnel. Things are starting to relax a little bit. Things are starting to open up slowly but surely. Hopefully, by some point close to the end of this year, we'll be facing some kind of, albeit slightly newer normal, but we'll be getting back to something that resembles the before times, something that's a bit closer to normal. That in itself is worth celebrating. But tonight, as you're going to see, there's lots of things that we can be celebrating. And when we're going to find those wee moments to celebrate, whether it's a birthday or a birth or a new job or a new house or an engagement or whatever it may be, sometimes it might just be, as I've said before, a Tuesday night. Sometimes that opening that nice bottle makes that occasion special. Any reason to open something that's got a bit of ceremony about it, a bit of contemplation, something that is a wee bit more special. Anyway, I'm going to jump into the chat, and I'm going to welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. So many of you in already. It's wonderful to hang out with you all on a Thursday night. Again, Eric Cunliffe is in saying, oh my, it's starting a little later tonight. I may be able to catch the tail end after work. Love you all. Aquaviti, don't let the barflies drink all the good stuff on me. Eric, it's a shame that you've got to work these evenings, buddy, but I know that you do pick it up on the replay. And I'm very, very grateful to everybody that picks it up on the replay. The vPubs will never be monetized. You won't have to sit through ads, thanks to the support from the Barflies and the Aquaviti patrons. So, Eric, whenever you can make it, I appreciate it. Thanks for dropping in. Dave Cummins is in. You might be hearing a wee bit from Dave a wee bit later in the stream. Chris Amir is in. Fantastic multi-mission. Chris, good to see you, Chris. William Meyer is in. I hope I'm pronouncing your name well, William. Chris is saying, evening, Roy. Jason Bradford. Peathead, Orange Wool, Island Hopper, Stuart, Standard, I'm afraid, Aberlour 12. I don't mind what you're sipping, what you're drinking. As long as you're enjoying it, Stuart, it doesn't matter. Aberlour 12 is as good as anything in the vPub, my friend. Andy C is saying, evening, Roy. If somebody's bought me a dram, have I missed that? When did that go past? Let me catch it. Eric, wait. Eric, my friend Eric from California. Eric, good to see you saying, you're my whiskey tuber hero. It's a nod and a wink, isn't it, to the recent video that you put out, the Hero Whiskies video. Eric, I'll raise a wee glass to you, my friend, and say, I hope you're well. You certainly look well on video, buddy. I hope you're doing well. I'll raise a wee glass to you and say thanks for your dram. Cheers now. Thanks, Eric. Eric put out a video this week and called it Hero Whiskies. Slightly different take on Hero Whiskies from the perspective I took when I put out the first Hero Whiskies videos last year. Just a mention on Hero Whiskies. There was in it that I was still going to be doing the Hero Whiskey videos. There was one that came out towards the end of 2020 that was a perfect example, but it disappeared. It sold out quicker than it appeared on the shelves, honestly. So, but I still wanted to do a video with using that, and I may still do it yet because there's still a good reason to put that forward and reflect on some of the dynamics that makes a whiskey a hero whiskey for me. This is a personal thing. So I may still do that. And then the next one was RN10, a bit of a spoiler there, but I was going to do a Hero Whiskies video on RN10, but Ralphie made it his whiskey of the year, and I didn't want to look like a Johnny come lately in January. So I decided, yes, RN10 will get its moment in the spotlight, but it's maybe going to have to be pushed a wee bit down the road. And especially I knew that the strain on supply that would happen as soon as Ralphie called it his whiskey of the year. Anyway, Eric, it's good to see you, buddy. Jesse Voicen is in. Marcus Kreitner, good to see you, Max. Good to see you, Jesse. We can't find a rear the dock. Good to see you, buddy. Whiskey Jason, also in Germany. Petehead, I've mentioned. Actually, in France, fantastic. Whiskey Radar, rolling superb. Bogdan Rilski is in. I know that I'm pronouncing your surname wrong. I hope you forgive me, Bogdan. Good to see you, and my friend Lee J. Brown. Whiskey 101, good to see you, Nick. Ebhead is here. Rolf in Norway, fantastic. Rolf, always brilliant to welcome you in. Radek is here. Good to see you, Radek, my friend. Chris Schmeier is in, or Schmierer? Schmierer. Let's go with Schmierer. Schmierer. Sorry. Just spelt Ardbeg 19 Tray Van with 5. Oh, split Ardbeg 19 Tray Van with 5 others because the price here is $300. Wow, we each got 125 mil. Take your time with that Ardbeg. It's much more subtle than you might expect. I wasn't sure what to make of it for the first third of the bottle. The middle third disappeared very fast. I was very much enjoying it. And I've only got a wee drop left. Think you might enjoy it, Chris. Drew from Arizona is saying, hello there, Roy. You're quite the busy guy. Good to see you, Drew, as well. I am very, very busy right now. Richard Hall is saying, evening Aquaviti and evening Barflies. Hope all of you are well and happy. We very much are. Listen, it's knocking on for 300 of you in already. I'm going to struggle to keep up with everybody tonight, but I do want to kind of try and make this a wee bit interactive. So as we talk about these whiskies tonight, it's not just about me sharing with you and broadcasting what I think the best whiskies are, and within the limits that we're talking about tonight. You share what you like, what you think is bringing value, what you think is really, really enjoyable, the type of whiskies that you're keeping to celebrate and mark those kind of special moments. Or sometimes it's just a wee quiet time, a bit of my time or whatever it might be, but something that is a treat whiskey, something that's a bit special. I'm going to start tonight by talking about what's in my glass right now. I've got a wee bit of housekeeping to do, but I'll tell you what's in the glass first. This is one of my first ever special whiskies. It was gifted to me by my friend Simon Rose. I don't know if Simon ever watches these things, but he did. For my 40th birthday, quite a number of years ago now, Simon gifted me this bottle. I'd never had anything like this before. Never had anything quite as decadent, quite as well aged, quite as mature. I was only 5 or 6 years into my journey back then, and I was just grabbing anything that I could afford, and I was very, very rarely spending more than about £50 on a bottle. But for my birthday, Simon splashed out and bought me a bottle of this, and we shared it as friends together as we were in a rented apartment before we went out to celebrate my 40th in Glasgow city centre. And all of us stood round in a circle and raised a glass of this, and I was utterly struck and realised that I'd already started on a whole new fork of my whiskey journey. This wee dram in the glass in front of me here is very eligible to be thought about as a celebratory whiskey. It's occasionally less than £100, but more often than not, it's about £115, £120. So pretty much within the kind of financial limit, let's say, the cost limit that we've set tonight. If it's going to nudge, if it's going to go over £100, it needs to be justified. So we will allow it to drift over £100, but for every pound more than 100 it becomes, it's harder. The whiskey's got to work harder, hasn't it? But what we've got here is a whiskey at 21 years old and very, very special indeed. This is Glengoyne's 21-year-old. It's natural colour. It's ex-sherry cask. I think very occasionally, it's certain batches in the past, there has occasionally been the occasional wee bourbon cask added. But generally, and probably if Gordon Dundas is watching right now, he'll be spitting his teeth. Generally speaking, this is ex-Oloroso, all ex-sherry cask, Glengoyne 21 years old. This is 43% ABV. This is an accessible whiskey. It's presented to be accessible, mass market whiskey, if you like. But it's still affordable. I picked up this one. You will not believe that I picked up this one on special offer for £84 for a 21-year-old malt whiskey. I bought more than one at that price. It was a special offer. It doesn't always happen. It doesn't always come along. One of these flash sale type deals. If you keep your eye on things, and if you're part of this community, we're all feeding each other. The Barflies group and places like that are full of these tips when things go on sale and special offer. They do come along from time to time, and you can save a decent bit of money on it. But let's forget about that. Let's just consider this at £120. Is this worth it? You know, it's 21 years old, but 21 years old in this Glengoyne is more than enough age to give you a big hit of maturity and that dusty dunnage note that you get from older whiskies, especially older sherried style whiskies. It's heavy with dried fruits. It's heavy with gentle spices like cinnamons, gentle kind of nutmegs. Everything that you want from a lovely sherry cask. But it's quiet. You can get your nose right in this glass in terms of ABV. I mean, it's soft. It's not intimidating at all. This is the type of classy, elegant whiskey that you can enjoy in company and be very content and know that not every sip is going to be trying to grab your attention. This is a very communal, a very easy whiskey to share. And even people that are just early in their journey still coming into whiskey, that low ABV just helps them enjoy it that wee bit more. So Glengoyne 21, I've recommended it in the past. I'll probably still be recommending it in the future. And it's going to make an appearance a wee bit later in the stream tonight with one of my guests. Anyway, welcome everybody. Cheers to you. What I'm going to be doing tonight is I go through these whiskies with you. I've got quite a few to share. I have to go through at a fair pace, something I'm not very good at, right? I'm going to pour wee samples. And that's what I've done here. I've poured this wee sample of Glengoyne 21, and I'm going to share it with some of the barflies out there. Hoyt bought me a dram as well. Hoyt, I almost missed that, buddy. He's saying, raising a dram of Glengoyne, 21-year-old, wonderful sherry nose, purchased at the distillery. Cheers. Good for you, Hoyt, and I'm glad I caught that wee dram. It was nice to spend a bit of time with you when you were over here, and I know you must be missing it, Hoyt, and I hope you get back here in the future, my friend. Thanks for the dram, and here's to Glengoyne 21. Cheers, buddy. I've also had a wee dram coming in from, it looks like Greg, my friend Greg Swartz. He's the director of the film, The Water of Life. You would have seen a while back, he appeared on the vPub for a quick cameo a few weeks ago. He's saying, cheers, Roy, and cheers, everyone. Greg, cheers to you, my friend. Best of luck with everything. Cheers. There's going to be more projects coming out of Greg in the future as well. Maybe get a chance to share some of the more interesting ones with you if Greg keeps me in the loop. Callum, you're as well, Callum. Good to see you. Good to have a wee dram from you as well. You're a star. He's saying, even Roy, can I ask you and all the barflies to raise a wee glass to Glenn, Dancing Midgie, and his incredible generosity. Well, that's something to celebrate. The generosity and the amazing community we have. And the Barflies Facebook page, Glenn, who's a fantastic painter. You might remember the painting I shared that he gave to me of Lagavulin, a wonderful oil. He, in the Facebook group, he said, look, I've made this painting and I'd like to pay something back to the community for everything that I've got out of this community. Leave a comment below and I'll just randomly choose somebody. He ended up giving away 2 paintings in the Barflies group that way, and they were beautiful paintings. I think one was our Lefroy, I think. One was Lefroy, and I think the other one was Strathyla. That's me just kind of going from memory. I've seen quite a lot of Glenn's paintings. They're amazing. And aye, Callum Muir was lucky and he managed to win one of those paintings. Fantastic generosity, just a gorgeous community that we have. We need to preserve it just as long as we can. Callum, thank you so much for your drama, friend, and congratulations. Greg's Whiskey Guide is in from France. Funny that, it's so colourful, dark aquavite, because it says 10 years ago the ones I tried were way lighter, despite E150A, while now at no more colour. I would say that as it is sherried as the 18-year-old. You know, we have to remember, Greg, we're talking about 21-year-old whiskey that was laid down 21 years ago. So what the cask policies, the cask management, the people in charge of casks back then are what ends up producing the whiskey today, more or less. There is re-racking and things like that that's happening. But as Glengoyne has invested more and more year after year, deeper stocks, better wood, more understanding of the product. You have to remember the current owners, Ian McLeod, they're not even, maybe they weren't even the owners 21 years ago. They wouldn't have distilled this spirit. So as the years tick by at Glengoyne, I think it's only going to get a bit better. The reason that that any producer relies on caramel colour is it's a cosmetic thing to suggest the wood that it might have come from. And to an amateur, to somebody who's just getting into whiskey, and even people that are a long time lovers of whiskey, we're all still a wee bit drawn by darker colours. Sometimes even 20 years in wood doesn't produce a dark colour. It depends on how active the cask is. It depends on how many times it's been filled before, of course. And sometimes it's tempting for them to honestly, cynically, when it comes to malt whiskey, I believe cynically, use caramel colour to suggest that something has come from better wood, to meet market expectations, to keep it consistent, perhaps is an often used excuse/reason for E150 being used. But if malt whiskey has been sitting in a cask for 20 years, I think it's a crime to throw spirit caramel in the mix. This is malt whiskey. It's utterly precious. Don't add it. Don't take it away. Leave it exactly as it is. So, Greg, I hope that it's just better management, better policies, and just a better way of running things at Glengoyne. I'm sure that that's what it's about. Jimmy Legg is saying, I'm drawn by lighter colours, aquavite. Not a big sherry man. I like to be opposite. I think that there's a bit of truth in that, Jimmy, that you can come at it from a different angle, but I don't think you need to be that obtuse. What you can do as you go along your journey is more and more experiences you have with lighter whiskies. Some of the whiskies I'm going to share with you tonight are very pale. You realise that, my goodness, we're not reliant on super active wood, whether it's bourbon or sherry cask, to get all the flavour. Good spirit is good spirit. Sometimes, especially when we're talking about 20 years old, it's really nice if some of that spirit is still intact and it's not overpowered by cask. Peacebox Seed is in saying, it missed my super tat at the start, Roy. I'm so sorry, I didn't even see it. I was probably settling in my guests, my friend. So good to see you, Brian. He's saying, but that just a wee thank you. Kilkerran samples received today. Very much obliged, sir. I'm very glad you got them, Brian. Sorry it took me so long to get them out to you. Anybody that's waiting on deliveries from me generally is going to be waiting longer just now. It's getting better. The kids are getting back to school, so I'm getting out more often. Jamie Brown has brought me a dram as well to say, raising a glass to my gran, oh dear, who passed away on Spica 20 and Sirius from North Star, and later Untold Riches. You might see an appearance from one of the ones you mentioned there. Indies are keeping 20 plus years affordable and good value. Jamie, I'm going to raise a wee glass to you and think about your gran as well, my friend. I'm very, very sorry to hear that. And I thank you very much for your dram. And condolences, I'm sorry for your loss. Cheers, Jamie, thanks. It's nice to have you in. Raise a wee glass and celebrate your gran's life. Eagle Castle is saying, have you tried any sherry versions of Swedish whiskey, High Coast, which is called Berg? I have their High Coast Ulv, or Elv, I think it's pronounced, the ALV, which is the bourbon cask expression, and I thought it was lovely. In fact, I liked it so much that I took the bottle to Isla with me last year so I could sip it while I was over there. I did enjoy that whiskey. Malt Mondays is saying some 32-year-old Bruichladdich is incredibly rich despite having a pale gold colouring. Wow, 32-year Bruichladdich you would expect at that age. that it's going to have something. Jimmy Like says, wood gets way too much credit. I want the spirit character. I agree, and there are things happening in the background in the industry generally that, you know, if you're talking about the woods giving your 80% of your the flavour from your product, I think that's really dismissive of the spirit. It's like, well, you don't need to pay much attention to your spirit then, do you? If the wood's taking care of everything, just make a nice spirit, just put it out. And I think it's a wee bit overrated. It's great to have, especially depending on the style. If it's a really rich, fully flavoured sherried style of whiskey, then you're relying more on the wood for that, of course. But if you take care of the distillate, if you take care over the barley that you're using, how you handle that barley, yeast and fermentation is so crucial. I'm becoming more and more aware of that as time goes on. If you look after the distillation, your cut points, how it's condensed, by the time it's put into wood for the first time, you've already got potentially super flavorful spirit that you don't need to have 80% of the flavour coming from the cask. That's what I believe. I think a lot of the whiskies I'm going to be sharing with you tonight are very well made, including this Glengoyne. I remember being at Glengoyne once and being talked about how there's lots of things that they look for in the new make spirit that they absolutely demand has to be there, regardless of what wood it's going to be filled into for what purpose. They're very precious of that new make spirit and making sure that it continues in that vein. Ian Graham is saying you can't beat an old tired refill sherry cask matured at 20 to 23 years old. Nice pale colour, magic stuff. One of my most famous whiskey moments ever was provided by exactly that, Ian. It was a refill sherry butt, and it was Clynelish that went into it. Clynelish usually is celebrated more in a bourbon cask, but it went into refill sherry butt, and it was absolutely amazing. Anyway, let's launch into the topic a wee bit tonight. Actually, the housekeeper promised you. The first thing is that we have a special birthday here tonight. My friend over in Northern Ireland, I think it's Northern Ireland, Neil Laverty. I'm pretty sure it's Northern Ireland. Neil, I hope, is in tonight. I've not seen his name yet. I've kind of been looking out for it. But today is his 50th. So if you can spend time with us tonight, that's pretty amazing. But I promised him last week that if he did drop in, that he would be able to raise a glass with everyone. If you're in, Neil, try and mention us. But a bit later tonight, the sample that I've sent you, I believe blind, I didn't tell you what it was, I'm going to be sharing tonight with everybody. And I'm going to put some in a glass. I'm going to send out a sample to somebody else as well tonight. It's a really delicious whiskey. You don't need to have that in your glass just now. But if Neil's in, as soon as I see his name, if he comments at all, Neil Laverty, I'm going to make sure everybody raises a wee glass to wish him a very happy birthday. Neil's been a barfly for a long time. I'm always grateful to have him in watching. And 50 years old. It's quite a thing. Mr. Golan Heights is saying bumps for Neil. Absolutely. That looks like a new name as well. Mr. Golan Heights, I'm going to suggest, could you be in Israel? It's quite late in the night for you. If you are, my friend, it's nice to welcome you in here. And Jimmy Like is saying, Neil Laverty, attaboy Neil, you've joined the cool kids at 50 plus. He is in. He's saying, Aquavite, hi mate, I'm in, and cheers. Okay, Neil Laverty, my friend, I'm privileged to have you as part of the community, buddy, and I'm very privileged to have you joining in with us on your 50th birthday. I'll raise this glass, my friend, and I'll raise another one to you a wee bit later tonight as well, and say many happy returns on 50 years old, Neil Laverty. Join with me, barflies. Happy birthday. So good to have you here. Prestige Liquids, that's Andrew is in. He's saying, Aquavite, I find that Aussie distilleries have very distinctive spirit DNA. You can often determine a range of distilleries by the taste of the spirit alone. Do you find this with Scotch as well? You have a luxury, Andrew, in Australia. All your Australian distilleries are fairly small scale, very focused. They're making product to be sold as single malt or whatever it is they're making, whatever style of whiskey, it's going to be bottled and sold as such. They're not making lots of product that's going in for a blend. They're not making lots of things that has to be dialed in to be as absolutely consistent as it possibly can be and to a specific requirement needed by blenders, something very, almost like it's going to be an ingredient to a mix. That's what built the Scotch whisky industry. Now we're seeing a huge swing where so much more stock has been laid down, put into careful wood, much more care taken over making the spirit, because they know that this whiskey is going to not be a component in a blend to a specific style. This is going to be celebrated and enjoyed for single malt's sake. And that's a very different thing. It's a different take from what the industry has been built on. So like Irish whiskey, the boom in Irish whiskey right now is that very same thing. English whiskey, American whiskey, especially American malts, even, go anywhere in the world, go to Australia, as you mentioned, to Asia, to anywhere. These things are being put together to be sold as a malt or whatever it is they're making. Maybe it's some other grain, but that's quite a distinct difference from the way that whiskey was traditionally made. And yet, whiskey has a way of taking care of itself. So you still have this distillery character coming through. Despite that, they can build 2-3 distilleries very, very close to each other, owned by the same company, in order to provide a very similar profile over the 3 sites for the blend market. And try as they might, these 3 malts are going to come out tasting different. You just have to look at some of the Diageo distilleries, and we're fortunate that we get to try that through the Flora and Fauna range and lots of independent bottlers as well. We can taste there's remarkable differences, despite them trying to keep that consistent thing and have redundancy from multiple distilleries to make a similar profile. Whiskey Jason is saying, please don't say whiskey, but rather Scotch. I'm not sure the context, Jason. I do try to define, I do try to not always just kind of, to make it clear when I'm talking about things outside of my comfort zone. I think when I'm talking about Scotch, I'll often very much just say whiskey. You come to Scotland, Jason, I know you've been here, I've had the chance to hang out with you here. We don't say Scotch. It's difficult for us. We've got to remind ourselves to call it Scotch because we're speaking to an international audience. For us, it's just whiskey, buddy. It's just whiskey. Actually saying happy birthday indeed. Aquavita is right. 50 plus is where to be. Does wisdom come, actually? I hope so. And actually, it's again saying one of the most distinctive spirits I've tasted in recent years past is Brook Laddie. Yes, the classic Laddie would love to taste an older version of that liquid. And it changes over time. The regime, the owners, it's whiskey is just this organic thing. It's constantly changing. Anyway, many happy returns to my friend Neil. There's also an auction still live just now. It's only live for a couple more days. I'm going to drop it in. This is the new Dram Drinker auction. I'll drop a link in as well. Listen, the Aquavita coins has already got great support in there. It's still on auction, but it's already made much more than I expected. But the link in here I'm dropping in is for everything that's available for you to buy in that fundraiser for a fantastic cause. This is for Myeloma UK. This is part of the community. A member of the community is suffering right now. And she's stepped up, Deb has stepped up to raise funds for myeloma, and the community's got behind her. And I think it's a fantastic cause. Some amazing things, including whiskey, has been donated. You can go on here and bid for some fantastic whiskey from Port Dundas, Close Distillery, from the Lakes, and Ardnamurchan. That's like hen's teeth, right? You can't get Ardnamurchan. You can bid for these whiskies on this auction. I'll drop the link in now, copy and paste it, open up a wee tab on your browser and have a wee look a wee bit later and see if there's anything there that you can do to support. Alistair McPhail is in. Good to see you, Alistair. Roy, I've got to go to bed. You're obviously down there in Ethiopia, aren't you, Alistair? He said, but I've got to thank you for all you do. When your clocks change, you'll be closer to me and I'll be able to join live. Slancheva to you and the barflies. Thank you, buddy. We are out a wee bit of sorts here. If west, it's a bit closer. East, it's further away right now. But I appreciate any time that you drop in live or on the replay, Alistair. Thanks. And good night to you, buddy. Cheers. Jesse Voicing is in. Always good to see Jesse saying, dram down. What did I miss the last couple of minutes? My dram of black arts crashed and burned all over me and my MacBook. I'm nervous I'll do that live one night, Jesse. Had to go away and towel off and reboot. You didn't miss anything. You didn't miss anything that you can't pick up in the replay. More important, that your Mac is still okay. Aye, and a black arts is an expensive one to spill, isn't it? So there you go. I've offered up my first one. I'm going to offer up my second one now. This is amazing because it's been the same price for about 10 or 12 years. It's incredible. I remember the first time I splashed out and bought a 25-year-old bottle of whiskey, and I paid, I think, £94 or something like that I paid. I remember quivering a little at the time, but I remember always feeling a bit of a prickle of anticipation and excitement that I was able to buy something that was a quarter century old for a mere, let's say, £94. When you think about it that way, that's incredible. And that's the unique thing about Scotch. That's why we're talking about Scotch when we talk about this thing. There are no other whiskey categories in the world right now that has that thing. The climate in Scotland means it's going to go in a quieter cask most of the time. It's going to take a long time. If we leave it a long time, it's going to do well. Our climate lends itself to that thing. And we've been making whiskey in sufficient quantities for long enough that it's difficult to find another whiskey producing nation anywhere on the planet that has a deep stock of mature product for us to enjoy. Still, yes, it's getting more expensive all the time. We've got to continually be vigilant and chase the value, but we can still buy something that is 25 years old, £94 10 years ago, £99 I paid for this bottle. I'm talking about Glenfarclas, 25-year-old. Now, like the Glengoyne, the ABV on this is, for an enthusiast, I have to say, unfortunately light. I don't want to complain or whinge about it. Glenfarclas have been doing this for long enough. They know their market. They know who they're selling this to. And when they're bringing out a 25-year-old product at £99, it's usually a wee bit more expensive than that. Again, it was one of these sales that I bought this on. It's kind of being a bit silly to complain about it. How much more would I pay for this to be at 46% or a wee bit higher? Probably a good bit more. Their 15-year-old is presented at 46%. Alistair McPhail's bought me a dram. Roy, no comment. Just thanks for the mention and Slancheva to you and the dear barflies. Thank you, Alistair. Cheers. I hope you catch the rest of this on the replay because I know that you're a bottle chaser, Alistair, and you love to come back to the UK and pick up the quarry that you've been collecting while you've been out there working in Ethiopia. So Glenfarclas 25, like I say, in that 10 years, I think it was maybe 2011 or something, I bought this for the first time. And going from memory, £94. Today, you can buy this for £100 or less, or sometimes a wee bit more. It's absolutely incredible. Whiskey Rare Roland is saying I'm on my second dram now as well. Wow, hard to top that. I've been Romac 35. Wow. I do not mind the 70+% wood impact with this one, such a gentle and gracefully matured, dusty sherry expression. It's interesting that Gordon McPhail, actually, the owners of Bunnahabhain, have changed their language. They used to talk about the wood, the wood, the wood. Of course they would, because they were independent bottlers. That was their focus at the time. But as things have moved on with Bunnahabhain and the new distillery now as well, we find that they're actually going to be focusing much more on spirit and distillation. So I don't think their marketing is quite as wood reliant anymore. Ben Marnick is saying, unfortunately, chill filtered. How much better would it be, Roy, with that 30% extra flavour potentially? Absolutely, Ben. That's the thing. Let me defend Glenfarclas a little bit. This is chill filtered. It's at 43%. Now it does say natural colour. They don't add any colour to this, and it says it on the bottle. But in 2018, when I was at Glenfarclas, it was right after the Spirit of Speyside Festival. I bought their festival bottling, and it was £120. It was quite expensive, but it was cask strength, natural colour, unchill filtered, everything you would expect from cask strength. Festival bottling, £120. It was in 1989. When I had my last sip of that whiskey, I was almost shedding a tear. It was an amazing experience. Full on, heavy, bold sherry cask. An amazing experience, start to finish. A privilege to have it. Something that was distilled when I was 19 years old. And there I am, 48 years old, for £120, able to experience what's happened to this while it's been waiting in a cask for virtually 30 years, a 29-year-old whiskey. Glenfarclas, I wish that they did stop filtering. I wish that they did, because you can still put it out at 43% and not chill filter it. Yes, it's going to cloud. Yes, it's going to cloud while it's in a cold shelf or in transportation or whatever. Certainly when you pour it over ice or if you add cold water to it, it will. But it's going to be in a brown bottle anyway. So we're not really going to see that. And just right, and all this space you've got here, Glenfarclas, look at that big, big empty label at the back. If this clouds, it is a mark of the quality of the whiskey. It is not a defect. It's malt whiskey. It spent 25 years maturing. Why strip out all of those lovely, lovely oils and fats? Yes, it's an enthusiast's grape. You know your market. You know what you're doing. You're bringing it to us for this price. I'll pay you another £20 if you don't chill filter it. At least 25, a bit more. That's an enthusiast's opinion, I know. It's malt whiskey. Thomas Elmer is saying, I don't think Glenfarclas needs to be defended. Their product and price stand on its own. Absolutely, Thomas. I hope that's the point I've made. Whiskey Weekend Dram. Harold, good to see you. Glenfarclas is a great malt for the price, but at the distillery, I got the taste. The 25-year-old Councillor cask, that was something else. Listen, my buddy was 50 years old in 2018. It can't have been 2018. I think I've made a mistake there. He was born in 66. Must be 2016, my goodness. Yes, 2016, that 1989 was released for the festival. My mistake. But because they heard he was 50 years old, they poured and brought him a glass of the family casks from 1966 at Glenfarclas. Just wonderful hospitality too. Wonderful care. Do you think that my friend, it's Roberto I'm talking about, Malt Mafioso, he's occasionally in, he might be watching tonight. He's just round the corner, just had his birthday recently again. 55 years old he is now. Do you think he will love Glenfarclas for the rest of his life? Absolutely. Absolutely. For that wee glass of whiskey. Lee J is saying good night as well. Good night, Aquavida. We'll definitely catch the rest in replay. Take care, all Slancher. Going to break this down into 3 tonight. So the accessible stuff I'm sharing with you now, we'll have a wee game of Visit Speyside, then I'll go into the more kind of transient stuff and talk about how we work together as a community to find these gems. And then after a wee break to welcome in my guest tonight, I'll save the best till last. That perfect mix of quality, availability, presentation, and price. McAlpine Rare saying, crazy, isn't it? Roy would pay more for a process that did not happen. That's right. It costs them money to filter it. Now, of course, the ABV bumps up a bit, so we're getting a bit more whiskey in the bottle there. But yes, I would pay more for you to do less. It's exactly the thing. Benny Fries is in as well. Welcome, Benny, to my Patreon as well. Thanks for your recent support. Thanks to all my recent patrons as well. Your name's at the end of the video, Benny. I'm very grateful to have you on board. My oldest whiskey is a 24-year-old 1989 Glengrant cast strength from Cadenhead's authentic collection, bought for approximately £150 less than the price for a Glenfarclas 25-year-old. Oh my goodness. Oh, bought for £150, which is less than the price for a Glenfarclas 25-year-old in Denmark. I have to say that, Benny, as well, that the prices I'm talking about, I don't know how much it is wherever you are in the world. The crazy thing about duty and taxes, but more than that, when it goes through layers of distribution, distributors and retailers and things, I don't know how some prices end up being what they are in different markets. It's incredible to me. It must puzzle the producers as well, honestly. And actually saying, just cracked a bottle of Glengrant, 23 Artist Collective. The neck pour already is rather good. Superb, actually. Malt Mondays is saying, it jumped. I got to try a 1966 family cask, best whiskey I've ever had. Magical. If that's a Glenfarclas, it would be if it's family cask. It's the same whiskey we got to try as well. Amazing. I say we didn't get a glass each. Roberto got the glass. but we might have nicked a wee sip while he wasn't looking. And Jamie Brown is saying, had a similar experience at Tomatin last year. As it was my birthday, I got a free dram of Tomatin, 36. It's just nice when they give that personal touch. You don't need to give free whiskey, of course not, but it's nice when they take a bit of time and speak to people and understand them and why they're there and things. It really is. I think a lot of the distilleries out there in Scotland are very, very good at that. Benny Fries says, sorry, it was of course £15 less. I got you. Okay. Thanks, Benny, and thank you very much for your drama, friend. Cheers to you. Like Alan Rare saying, during my first visit to Glenfarclas Distillery, they poured the Glenfarclas 40-year-old, 46% for me and my buddy, free of charge, just like that. Now, 40-year-old Glenfarclas, the ABV changed over releases and over time. The original 40-year-olds, when they came out, my goodness, they were something. They would take your breath away. As time went over and the ABV dropped a bit, they were still fantastic when it's 40-year-old Glenfarclas. But some of them, be careful what you go. If you're chasing at auction, if you're treating yourself to something that's quite frankly really quite expensive, watch the ABV. Warner is in one glass when he's saying, "Hi, Aquaviti from Miami. My oldest official bottling is Glen Murray, 25 port finished, opened and beautiful." Fantastic, Warner. Good to have you in, my friend. Good to have you. Okay, before we play our first game of Visit a Speyside, I'm going to share the last of this wee section of available everywhere, fantastic value, fantastic quality whiskies that you should be thinking about having on a shelf, back of the cabinet, hidden away for those special occasions, mark those special moments, or, just when you want to indulge yourself on a Tuesday. And this is one of my favourites. And one of the reasons is that it's about the same price as the whiskies I've shared with you already, that £120 mark. But they are bringing natural presentation. It is a full integrity bottling at that price. And it's from one of the best distilleries that we have on our shores right now. It's my producer of the year. And of course, I'm talking about Arran. This is the original Arran 21. It's in this livery. So depending on where you are, you might still have this on the shelf where you are. And this is the slightly newer packaging here for 21 years old. Now look at this. Here says, natural colour, non-chill filtered. Age statement, 46% ABV. Everything we ask for. £120 for a 21-year-old naturally presented whiskey. It can be done. So all your luxury brands out there, all your kind of more recognised ones, maybe they're cashing in on the years and years of marketing that they've done, the established brands and things. When you see their 21-year-old and it's £250 and it's £275 and all these crazy prices, pause, stop. By all means, if you can, try them. Get a sample, bottle splits, airport duty free as you're passing through, wherever it may be. And then pick up something like this and try it alongside. It's incredible. Arran 21 for me is something it's difficult to define. Every time you pour a glass, depending on your mood, what you've been sipping it alongside with, depending on the environment that you're sipping it in, the moment, it changes. It's really, really complex and difficult to tie down. It is wonderful whiskey. I am going to wait. In fact, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait until this is finished before I open this one, because I'm really keen to see how these two whiskies have changed. Of course, I'm almost hoping that they have actually changed, but the colour is almost identical. I believe this to only be an aesthetic change, just the packaging. But this is an incredible whiskey for £120. Occasionally you can get it a wee bit cheaper. It might be a wee bit more expensive where you are, but it's just wonderful whiskey. It's not a beginner's whiskey. If you were going to suggest to somebody who's just getting into whiskey and they want to spend a bit of money, I would maybe go with some of the earlier ones I've shared with you here, the Glengoyne and the Glenfarclas. This is more of an enthusiast's malt. There's more to dig for in here. It's less overt. It's less obvious. There's layers to this whiskey, and I think it's all the better for it. Mashburn is saying, still have some of the Glenfarclas 21 at 48%, the special edition. I got it at Robbie's Drams for less than 100. Fantastic stuff. Good for you, Ross. That sounds amazing. Chris Pollack is saying, and it jumps. He's saying also on my shelf, he's talking about the Aaron there. Fantastic. And Jimmy Legg is saying cashing in indeed. Well, cashing in or getting a return on their investment if they're cashing in on years and years of marketing. Graham Fraser is saying, back in the day, early 2000s, I visited Isla and I did tastings of 1968 Bamore and 74 Ardbeg. Wow. Totally memorable drams that I could never afford a bottle of, especially today, Graham. You've been around and doing your thing for a long time, Graham. I would like to sit one day and hear some of your stories. I'd also like to hear what you think about Aaron, 21-year-old. So there we go. How late am I running tonight? We're at 11:30. We're running a wee bit late, but not too bad. Not too bad. I want to reach out to my first guest tonight. It's been a few weeks since we've played Is It a Speyside? And the reason for that is because when you have guests on and things, I want to focus on them. They've got stories to share, information to give us, insights. So I don't always want to break the flow of the guests. And we've been spoiled in 2021 so far with the guests that have been willing to come on and share their time with us in the vPub. But tonight was a kind of more community-focused thing. So yes, tonight is It a Speyside? There's a waiting list for Is It a Speyside? If you're interested in stepping up and playing a wee game of Is It a Speyside, coming on live, you can absolutely do that. You can reach out to me on email, whisky@aquaviti.com, and I'll add you to the waiting list. I was going to share, actually, who is on the waiting list now, just in case you think what's happened. I'll tell you right now, the people waiting are Jed Smith, Nick Kean, Nick's here tonight, Osiris Ra, that's Ken from Scotch Down Under, Blair Stevenson, Jason Viswani, Ryan Sutherland, Gary Cobb, Hans Waldman. He's been on a lock-in, but that's good. He's going to come on a public one as well. Daniel Querty-Aardvark out in the States, and Tom Scaramuzza. We have Tom in tonight. So I've managed to cut two of the names off there tonight because two of them are going to join us. If you want to be added to that waiting list, send me a wee message, a wee direct message, or an email to whisky@aquaviti.com. You'd be very welcome. JB has just joined in support as part of the Aquaviti Barflies. JB, thank you very, very much for joining your fellow Barflies and keeping all the vPubs ad-free with no monetization because of the support that I get from all of you. Cheers to you, JB. You now have access to all those cool little emoji and things to colour the chat as you share whatever you're up to with us. Quite a lineup tonight. It's going to get better, JB, believe me. Hellswood is saying, count Hells and me in again. Fantastic. Do you know what I'm going to do? Tell me, Helen and Andy, if you guys have Glengoyne 21 on your shelf, I'll maybe gift this to somebody else if you have it. But if you don't, just for all your amazing support and how regular you are here and everything that you do for me in this channel, I'm going to send this generous 5cl portion or sample of Glengoyne 21 down to you. With my compliments. Thanks for all your support. Jimmy, like I said, it's fantastic that you're getting the community on the play to play the game. I think you are one of the best games of Is It a Speyside we've ever had, Jimmy. That was quite, I don't want to spoil it if anybody ever watches that one on the replay. That was an on the ropes moment. It was quite fantastic to see. Okay, I'm going to reach out to the first guest tonight to play a wee game of Is It a Speyside. This is a game where we've got to guess the whiskey, and we've got 10 questions to do that. I'm handicapped a wee bit from time to time. And what you're trying to do is get your hands on one of these coins. You can't buy these coins. This is the Is It a Speyside glass topper here, just to top your dram. It's exclusive. You can only come on and play to win it, or you can play along in the lounge with your fellow barflies. And if you're the first person to guess the bottle that we have off screen, you get yourself a sniper coin as well. So good luck, everybody. And play along, please. I'm going to reach out to my friend. I don't think you can get much further away than this guy. This is a gentleman that I've managed to meet. Got to meet him and his wife, and he's been a barfly and he's been a supporter of the channel for a long, long time. So give me a thumbs up, Nick, if you're good to go, and I'll pull you in. Nick Kean, how wonderful to see you. Oh, is that Penny's shoulder? Is Penny going to give us a wave there in the background? Hi, Penny. Welcome behind the bar in the vPub. Good to see you. G'day. Wonderful. Now you're in New Zealand, just outside of Christchurch?
No, we're up the top of the North Island almost. Oh, so completely different island.
You're Auckland, closer to
Yeah.
Auckland. Yeah, sorry, I get confused. I did.
Yeah, I'm not far away from First Fill Whisky. Hi, First Fill.
Aye, is Phil in tonight? Is he here?
Saw him in the chat.
Fantastic. Aye, that's right. And you've been in touch now, haven't you?
Yeah, we did a sample swap. Yeah.
Fantastic. Superb. That's the amazing thing about the community, that ability to, find that people are, we don't see borders. We don't care where you are necessarily. But it's nice when people find out that they're quite close to each other. Friendships, clubs, sample swaps, whatever it may be, is quite amazing. Anyway, it's always a pleasure to see your face. We've had the chance to meet, haven't we?
It's almost exactly 2 years ago now, I think. Yeah, in Glasgow at the Epiphany tasting.
May, was it? May 2019?
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been, yeah.
You were not supposed to be in Glasgow. Before we play the game, give us the story, Nick. How did you end up in Glasgow?
Me and Penny were doing a trip of Europe, a G Adventures package tour thing, going around about, 10 countries or so. And then I saw mention of this Epiphany tasting in Glasgow, and I was like, well, we could probably take
to oversell a tasting, right? Call it an Epiphany tasting.
Yeah, and we were both very young in the whiskey journey at that stage, and I think my favourite back then was Lefroy PX cask. I think something very simple. But when we turned up at that tasting, we were a couple of minutes late. I think cousin Kevin gave up his chair for us.
You did.
Yeah, we met a few people on that trip. I met McKellen Fine and Rare at a bar, and Alan, the whiskey friend, at that same bar. Yeah, there's a couple of people.
Vin from Norwich,
and then we came
was there. Chris Moore was there. Jason Viswani was there. Scott and Bart, obviously, Scotch and Test Dummies, were co-hosting it as well. That was one of my favourite ever whiskey days, I have to say. It was just fantastic to have so many people really from all over the globe. We had people there from the States, from the Southern Hemisphere. We had people there from all over. It was fantastic. And it was amazing to see the two of you walking in. You were a couple of minutes late. It was amazing right up to the point that I realised I didn't have any more spaces left to sit you down. And thanks very much to cousin Kevin. He's out there doing his own thing on YouTube as well. Kevin Grant on Whisky. He just, without anybody asking him, like the gentleman that he is, just stood up and said, "Here, you can sit here." And he gave up his drams for you as well, so that you had those whiskies in front of you, and we managed to get together some
lovely drams. The Moña Oloroso was our favourite. I think Penny swapped a couple of challenge coins, Scotch Test Dummies and a Scotch 4 Dummies coins, just to get other people's, because they weren't a fan of Pete, but we both are.
Fantastic. Yeah. I have to say that Moña Oloroso was donated by one of the guys that was there, my friend Bill, who's been in a couple of my videos, Bill, Whiskey Disciple Bill. He donated that Moña Oloroso for that tasting as well. Quite amazing generosity. Lots of donations come in. There was donations from Food Quig, donations from Scott and Bart, as well as donations from myself. It was an amazing, amazing day. Anyway, buddy, it might not be the last day. I hope it's another. Maybe I get to come to New Zealand. You never know. I'll take it.
We'll definitely have a tasting if you turn up.
Absolutely. Absolutely, we would. Okay, are you ready to play a wee game of Is It a Speyside?
I certainly am.
Fantastic. Let me pull up the wee countdown. Do a screen share here. Now, I have to ask you, are you planning on... Now, will this change? Yeah, I don't want that. Are you planning on asking or answering, Nick?
I have a bottle.
Oh, I'm guessing. Okay, fantastic. In that case, I'm handicapped, so I lose a question already, and I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes and try and rattle through this as quick as I possibly can. Okay, I'll wish myself good luck. You've got a bottle in hand. It's a standard core range expression of Scotch single malt whiskey, Nick, right? And it's available everywhere.
Yes. Yep, according to all the web searches of Waitrose and what have you, you can certainly pick it up. It's a bit hard for me to tell what's widely available there.
I figure
if it's in a supermarket, it's good.
I've missed a couple of drams here. I don't want to miss them. It looks like Donald Rand, Slancheroy, and Phil Barflies. Great topic is saying, just dropping in to say hello while at work. Take care and stay safe. Donald, always wonderful to welcome you in here, my friend out in Canada. I hope you're not working too hard, and I hope you get to enjoy it on the replay. Thank you. Cheers. I need to pour my next whiskey, but I'm going to save myself for me to get into the next wee category, I think. I might pour a wee drip, actually, of the Aaron 21. Okay, I'll start this timer, Nick, and I've got to guess the whiskey that you have on hand. Start. Nick, is it a Speyside?
Are we going by what the Malt Whisky Yearbook says?
Oh, wow. That's just what a giveaway. Fantastic. Okay, yes, wait, let's go with what the Malt Whisky Yearbook says.
It is not a Speyside.
Okay, Nick, is it Knock Do? Is it an Annock?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Nick, is it a Dalwhinnie?
No.
Oh, wow. Still helps me a bit. I thought I had it there. Okay, I'm going to need to dial in a wee bit here. So it's not a Speyside, according to the Malt Whisky Yearbook.
That's correct, yeah.
So now I'm thinking Glenglassaw, I'm thinking Glendronach, I'm thinking sometimes Ardmore is on the border a wee bit. Speyside, though. Is it a Glen?
No.
Oh, so it's not Glengarry either. Okay, I need to get back to basics. Nick, is it an Eastern Highland?
No.
Oh, wow. Now I'm in trouble. Now I'm in real trouble.
You fell into my trap.
I have fallen into your trap. You have led me, wonderfully led me down the wrong path. If Dalwhinnie is the centre of the Highlands, no, I don't want to ask that. Is it owned by one of the big four, Diageo, Edrington, Grants, or Pernod Ricard?
It is not.
Okay, when I asked, is it a Speyside, you thought it could be. It can't be Tomatin. Tomatin's clearly Highland.
To be fair, I asked a question. I didn't say it might be a Speyside.
No, you said, is it according to the Malt Whisky Yearbook, and you said no, it was not a Speyside.
According to the Malt Whisky Yearbook, this is not a Speyside.
Oh, wow. I'm down to 30 seconds. Is it a Tomatin?
No.
I'm just shooting blind now.
You've been trapped.
I have absolutely been trapped, sucker punched, winded. I'm going to complain. Is it a Blair Athol?
No.
Oh dear. It's me out of time. I'm going to have one guess. I'm going to just try and snipe something, pull it from nowhere. What's on the borders of Speyside? That's the only thing that it could be, something that's on.
Oh, no. My question was to throw you off, and it's completely thrown you off.
Oh, you're still. That's not fair.
It's not a Highland. It's not a Speyside. I just asked a simple question.
Oh, Nick Kean. I am going to devise a way to pay you back when we are in the same space together, my friend. I am nowhere close.
I have seen it come up in the chat, though. Someone's figured it out.
Somebody's figured it out. In that case, I'm going to guess. Is it Glengoyne 21?
No.
Oh dear. That's the way to get me. You've worked it out.
Even before you asked, is it a Speyside? I think someone had said Kilhelm and Sanek.
That's not playing fair. That's not playing fair.
It's not a fair game.
That brings a
Come
whole new
on.
dynamic to the game. My goodness. Oh dear. So what was that? That was the Kilhoman. Which Kilhoman was that? Sanic. Okay. So nowhere. Daniel Vermaas saying Aquavite. Oops. Banana skins are supposed to be in the quiz at the end, not in a game of a Speyside. That's an asshat. That's an asshat answer. There you go.
Because my original was going to be Macallan.
Oh, and I don't
they
think
say Highland single malt, but it's in Speyside.
It's Speyside.
So
yeah, because in the Speyside region they're permitted to say Highland. They're not permitted to put Speyside or Highland on an Isle of whiskey. Jimmy Legg has bought me a dram and saying Nick is a god. He has sent you for an ice cream. Nick, I have to take my hat off to you. That was a very, very canny thing to do. You sucker punched me. You winded me. I'm stuck. I'm knocked out. I'm lying in the corner, gasping for air. Poor Tom, who's up next, is going to get it with 2 barrels. Buddy, you're very welcome. You deserve your sniper coin. Well done. I'll send it off to you, and I might include a wee sniper coin as well for my friend Penny, who's next to you. Nick, it's a pleasure to have you on. I know that you have to go and work. You're off to work in a whiskey shop, which is really great fun. But if you can, buddy, stay around just as long as you can, and maybe if at some point we bring you in towards the end and you can play along in the quiz and things like that. It's up to you. I know you're
well gone by the quiz time, I think. I've got to go and sell whiskey to thirsty people.
So what time is it down there just now? It's about 12:15?
12:45, yeah. I better have some lunch before I leave, actually.
12:45 in the morning. Nick, I'm very glad to have you joining me, despite how I'm feeling right now. I'll raise a wee glass to the Sam 21 and say it's always a pleasure to see you, Nick. Thanks for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.
What's in your glass? Coffee?
Yeah, this is my caffeine mug. I'm a big fan of coffee. I roast my own coffee. I've got my own coffee tree growing out there, although I might get half a cup a year out of the beans I get from that. But yeah, I drink more coffee than whiskey by a fair lot.
Well, it's a bit early to be sipping whiskey. Listen, buddy, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers. See you soon.
I'm not liking you that much, but thank you. See you soon. Cheers, Nick. Thanks. I am hurting. That was incredible. That was not entirely plain fair, I don't think. Yeah, I've had a wee drama in here from Akshay saying Slayer, absolutely. Sniper shot from a distance. And first fella is in, he's saying, he's bought me a drama and said, great to see you, Nick. Great play and awesome shelf behind you. Yes, well played. Tom will be on a warning that nobody gets to pull that. He can't be misleading. We're all honest here. My goodness. Tom, if you're ready to come in, give me a thumbs up, buddy. Tom, I hope I have not been pronouncing your name terribly over the months that you've been joining us. Tom Scaramuzza? Is that
No, it's a great job. No, that's spot on.
How would you pronounce it?
Scaramuzza, English pronunciation.
And it's an Italian name, is it?
Yeah, I'm half English, half Italian. So, yeah,
fantastic. Fantastic. And I meant to say to Nick as well that you were both actually wearing uniform. I saw Nick in Aquavite polo shirt and I forgot to mention it. And I can see you in the Recycled Review T-shirts as well. Thanks very much. Tom, it's really nice to welcome you behind the bar at the vPub.
Thanks for having me.
I noticed you've been joining and with the Barflies over the last few months. It's great to have you here. Not that long, maybe about 6 months or so.
Yeah, back end of last year. So yeah, about 6 months actually.
Fantastic. It's nice to welcome you in, and it's nice for you to have been brave enough to step up to play a wee game of Visit a Speyside. How do you feel about Nick's strategy there?
Well, if I wasn't worried beforehand, I'm sure I'm worried now. I think it was it was bending the rules a little bit.
I am not going to do the same to you, my friend. Don't worry about it. We've already established before we went live that you kind of felt like you were going to take a punt, I think is it that you said, and fortune favours the brave, I think you said.
Yeah.
And you're going to ask. So you need me, therefore, to have an official core range bottle on hand, and I'm going to try and pull this up without appearing on screen. And I have that. I wasn't expecting to do this tonight, so I just grabbed one of the ones that was lying on the floor. I have it here next to me. I hope nobody saw that coming on. It's a core range bottle. It's generally available everywhere, and it's fairly widespread. I hope I haven't missed a dram. No, I didn't. I don't think I did. So Tom, my friend, are you ready to play us at Speyside?
Yep, ready to go.
Good luck, buddy. I am going to answer you honestly and fairly, and there's not going to be any hoodwinking or any nonsense going on. Carry on, my friend. I'm not going to set the timer for you. Take your time.
Okay. Is it a Speyside, according to the annual malt book?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a Diageo bottling?
It's not.
Oh,
good one to ask for Speyside.
Is it a Big Four bottling?
It is not.
Oh, goodness. Is it 43% or above?
Yes.
Okay. Is it 46% or above?
Yes. So we're in Speyside. It's not one of the Big Four. 46 or above.
Is it towards the top half of Speyside, so the southern side, or more towards the bottom side? Well, actually, it's yes or no. So, is it the top part of Speyside?
Well, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you try and define this a wee bit, just so we can both get our bearings. We're going to try and do this. I'm going to say it is clearly in the northern side of Speyside.
Okay, so closest to the coast.
So yes, it's in the top half.
Okay, so what's up there? I'm going to have to start. Speyside is my weak one. I'm going to have to start guessing, I think. So 46%, 46%.
It's an independent, let's not say independent, but let's say one of the smaller groups or owners. Not one of the Big Four is what I'm trying to say.
So it's not
in the northern half of Speyside. Usually a good one to ask is it a Glen?
That's a good point. Is it a Glen? I'll go for that.
It's not a Glen, which helps you quite a lot.
I'm tempted to go for something like a Linkwood or a Longmorn. No, definitely not Longmorn. Actually, neither of those because they're Big Four, aren't they?
It's not a Glen, but it rhymes with Glen.
Well, yeah, Ben Riach, possibly. Is it Ben Riach?
Yes, it's Ben Riach. I've got you off the ropes, Tom.
Yeah, I owe you one there. Thanks. Oh, blimey, is it a Ben Riach 10?
No.
Oh God, what is it? What else have they got in their lineup? I'm going to have to stab in the dark here. Is it a Ben Riach? Well, actually, no.
You've still got 2 questions. You've got a final question, and then on 0, you've still got a guess to make. So try and refine it if you can.
Okay. Is it a non-age statement?
No.
Okay. So is it a Ben Riach 12?
I'm going to give you that. Yes, it is. Specifically, there are 2 Ben Riach 12s, obviously, and that's why I thought this might be a tricky one. This is Ben Riach 12, the 12. This is not the smoky 12. Well done. You managed to get there. You were on the ropes. You were nowhere mid-game, and suddenly you managed to bring it back, and you've won yourself a wee sniper coin. But honestly, you deserve a sniper coin just for being brave enough to step up live in front of 300 and odd people as they tune in.
Is it that many?
So you're probably feeling the pressure a wee bit, but you came off the ropes. You've pulled it out the fire. Well done, buddy. Well done indeed.
Thanks.
You've managed to snag yourself a sniper coin. Are you able to hang out with us a wee bit longer, Tom?
Yeah,
able
absolutely.
To participate in the quiz?
Yeah, sure. Come in.
That would be amazing, my friend. Thanks for being brave, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Cheers, Tom. Cheers.
Cheers.
Wonderful stuff. Oh no, you're not going to believe this. It's like multi-mission mental, believe it or not, but it's Kresimir Jelčić, sorry, Kresimir, who got this. So the Sniper King, who's probably won maybe 15 sniper coins over the course of the game. This game's only been going for about a year. And he's outstripped everybody else by some margin. That's quite incredible. That's it for me this evening. I think we'll catch up on the replay, says Dan Fordham. Good night, all night. Dan, I hope you do catch up on the replay, because I've got some really nice whiskies to share with you, my friend. Nice of you to join us. No Nonsense Whiskey Vin has dropped in. He must be listening to us on his headphones, because his wee one will be sleeping in the background. And Kresimir is saying, sniper coin to Stefan Novak, please. Absolutely amazing. From Kresimir. Quite incredible. I don't know how the guy does it. It's got like a sixth sense. Well done, Kresimir, and congrats to Stefan for picking it up. Okay, let's move into this second wave of kind of whiskey recommendations. The first wave of whiskies I shared with you there, celebration whiskies, around about the £100 mark, affordable. A couple of them fall below the natural presentations. Fine, it's understandable. But one of them, the RM21, the one I'm sipping right now, is a wonderful whiskey. It's gorgeous. While I was playing that game there, every sip, I'm kind of thinking about the whiskey. It's making me pay attention to the whiskey, which I think is often a good marker, a good measure of a really decent dram, something that's always shouting for your attention. Dorpass Whiskey saying opened a bottle last night that turned out to be a celebration. Independent Blechin, 11-year, second fill sherry, but cast strength, just fantastic. Need to order another bottle or two. Listen, what's coming out of Edredale generally right now is stop and stare whiskey. Most of it is just, they're coming into their stride, that just bottle after bottle after bottle is quite amazing. What I will say in my experience is that most of them are very cask driven, very cask led. Maybe less so on the peated one, like the Blechin, but they are very, very, they're event whiskies. They're very bold, hook, flavoursome whiskies. But I think the Edredale Spirit is quite distinctive. It's quite an old school spirit in itself. And I think that Edredale, under the stewardship of the owners there over the last years, is getting better and better. Like so many of the producers out there, they're working out how to make better and better whiskies. And I'm really glad that you're enjoying that, Tim. Mark Slimer is saying, just poured a Glendronach 21. Unbelievable segue there. So we're going to move into a kind of transient thing that happens. These whiskies only come on and are available for a window of time. Maybe it's just a few weeks, sometimes hours, honestly, I know. A few weeks, a few months, a year or two, but they come and go. And the reason that we're able to work out how good they are, the reason that we're able to discover how good whiskies they are for the price, is because we get together as a community and we share the information. We talk about these amazing whiskies and we talk about why they're particularly good, why we need to pay attention to them. I forget who it was that was enjoying the Glendronach 21 there. I think it was Mark Slinger. I think it was Mark. Mark, if it was you, you were enjoying the Glendronach 21 Parliament. I don't have the Parliament on hand. I have a bottle of the 18 Allardyce. I grabbed this from over my shoulder. I actually have a bottle of Allardyce open through in the other room. There's only a wee drop left in it. This is amazing whiskey. Absolutely amazing whiskey. Now, it says 18 years on the label. Why am I talking about it? Well, it's not 18 years old. It maybe is now. This is whiskey from a distillery that was shuttered from 1996 to 2002. And if you look carefully, there's a little kind of inkjet date code stamped on the bottle. And actually, I can pull up a chart here that's available online. This is in the public domain here. I'll give a credit for this chart because I think it's fantastic. But this is a great guide that illustrates what I'm speaking about here with Glendronach. Here are the years in red here from 96 to 2002 that tells us when this was closed. Now, it doesn't take a particularly good mathematician to count back 18 years and work out that very recently, Glendronach were not making whiskey 18 years ago. So therefore, the whiskey has to be significantly older than 18 years old. And in fact, the bottling date I have, late 2018, is going to suggest that the whiskey is going to be somewhere in the order of 23 or 24 years old. Look at the exact same thing happening there with a 21-year-old that Mark Slinger is enjoying right now. Right now, if you bought a bottle of that right now, you would actually be buying not a 21-year-old whiskey, but you would be buying a 25 or a 26-year-old whiskey. Why is that important? More than it just being an interesting thing, they're over-aging these whiskies right now in order to keep their core range intact. And they've been doing it for a long time. This happened on the 15-year-old Revival. It's happening now on the 18-year-old Allardyce, and it's happening on the 21-year-old Parliament as well. These whiskies are significantly older than the age statement on the label. That's something that only enthusiasts are going to discover. It's something that we are only going to work out. This is remarkable whiskey, fantastic quality. The age, everything comes through on this, those notes of dunnage, the fruitcake, the heavy sherry, on this and the 21-year-old. Quite amazing. The 21-year-old uses a bit of PX as well, whereas this is specifically Oloroso. I'm going from memory now in the 21 Parliament. But when we see this here, this is £90, 95, 100, 110 pounds. It's going up in price. Every year, every few months, it's going up in price. That's what we need to factor in. That the age statement, and we know it, it's not just being overaged and we have to kind of ask people behind the scenes. We can actually work it out because we know that they weren't producing whiskey. Well, now they are. I think that Glendronach released this year. This is going to slip into being an 18-year-old potentially. 18 will be 18 from this year on. But out there in the supply chain, on the store shelves and things, you're going to find, pick it up, look at the little date on the back. This is 2018. It tells me the date clearly. It's not a code I have to decipher. And it even tells me that it was on the 20th of August, 2018. So clearly, significantly older. And I paid £90 for this from Good Spirits Company in Glasgow about a year ago, maybe a bit longer than that, 18 months ago. It's fantastic to know this. It's fantastic to understand that that's out there and available and it's much older than it says in the label. Nate Dwyer is saying, been lurking for some time and appreciate how much you do for the community. Cheers. Nate, I appreciate what you do as well. Sometimes it's nice if you can come in and make connections and chat in the lounge, but I understand how it's so much more appealing sometimes just to sit back and lurk. That's okay, Nate. Everybody is welcome, whether you're sitting up front at the bar on a bar stool or sitting back in the lounge. It doesn't matter to me. Thank you for your dram, Nate, and it's nice to welcome you in here. Cheers. Danny Vermass is saying the Glendronach 21 went from 100 to 150 pounds in the blink of an eye. You can buy Glendronach 21 Parliament online right now from the UK retailers for less than 130. It is getting more expensive as the years tick by, but we're talking about a 26 or a 27-year-old product now. Or maybe not quite as much as that, but no, I think we are. I think that's what we said there. Yeah, let me check again. If we buy Glendronach in 2021, where we are just now, yeah, 26 years old. Sorry. So yes, it is expensive. It's a pricey bottle. All the whiskies that we're talking about tonight are going to be expensive. Nudging £100 perhaps, breaking the £100 barrier for a few of them. But that's what we're talking about, celebration whiskies. And how many nations in the world are making whiskies at that age that we can buy at that price? None. I'll argue none. The only way that you can get whiskey of that age, good quality, enjoyable, engaging whiskies, is to buy Scotch whiskey. It's not going to exist like that forever, but we need to enjoy what we can achieve now. Especially when we think about diminishing returns. If we pay £100 for a 20-year-old bottle, is that going to be twice as good as £50 for a 10-year-old bottle? Arguably not. Very often the case not. But it's going to be different. And the reason that it's more expensive is not because of the cost of leaving it in a warehouse year after year after year. That's not true. That it does cost money. It costs significant money. But it doesn't make whiskey double the price. The cost is through scarcity, because year by year by year, they have to dip into those stocks. And there's less and less and less and less as the years tick by, to the point that you're at 20, 21, 25 years. It's quite a rare thing you're looking at. In the days of modern cask management, you can pretty much guarantee that it's good stuff that's left as well. Let's reach in now and share another couple of transient bottles with you. I don't need to spend too much time talking about this, but it's worthwhile talking about it. From independent bottlers, these two just happen to be from Scotch Malt Whisky Society, but you're able to get a lot of age stocked from indies. These are both from the same distillery. I want to talk about this specifically. These were expensive, honestly. This was a £300 bottle, and this was a £220 bottle, I think, going from memory. But I didn't pay that. Because we worked together as a community, thanks to Sevi the Alchemist, I got a heads up that there was a sale at SMWS, and both of these bottles were half price. I first picked up this one, the 27-year-old, and then a bit later on I picked up the 30-year-old. This was £105 for a 27-year-old cask strength Knockdo. This is Anok, essentially, Anok. Amazing. This is a 30-year-old whiskey for £155. It's not a sexy distillery. I don't know why. I absolutely adore the stuff. It's from Knockdo Distillery. One of the best producers out there in terms of official bottlings. We know how good Anok can be. This is a 30-year-old expression. And I shared this recently as a blind with some friends. Craig Dollery's in, Willie Dollery's in. It was the last jam we had of the night, and it dried up the chat. We were literally staring in the glass going, wow. This is amazing. Super subtle, super quiet whiskey. You have to be careful what you sip alongside. Just so happened that that lineup that night, it was shining. It was literally singing at us for £155. That is a privilege whiskey. It's truly, truly special. And it is made special because of the age. Both of these are from a refill cask, and they've just been left for that whole entire time. And you can taste it. The cask, even after 27 years, 30 years, is not dominant. Super complex, super mellow, super textured and buttery. The ABV has dropped away down 43.2% on this. Bear in mind, this is still non-chill filtered, and 44.9% on this one as well. In Scotland, because of the climate, we lose the alcohol. It's cool, so the water doesn't evaporate. The opposite happens in hot climates. So you can have a whiskey like that at that age, and it is wonderfully complex, elegant, mellow, decadent, textured, buttery, everything. 30-year-old whiskey, and being there at the right point in time, the right moment, keeping the right company with like-minded, generous, considerate whiskey folk, the community that I'm talking about, you end up being able to pick up a dream whiskey that I would never normally be able to buy at £150. Let me give you another example. Neil Laverty, I hope you're still in, my friend, because this is what you have in the glass, and this is what I'm going to raise tonight. I should have poured an RN21 sample, so that's what I'm going to. I'll put that down there. Helen and Andy is getting the first one. So the RN21, I'll look up here, and I'm just going to pick somebody at random. Chris Pollack, the indies upped their price for quite an amount. The independents are getting more and more expensive all the time. They absolutely are. It used to be that like for like, similarly presented whiskies against official bottlings, the independent would be cheaper. That was the market. That's how it played out. Now it's not the case. Independents, more often than not, because of the prices that they're paying for the casks, but truthfully, because of the prices that we are willing to pay, the market is willing to pay, the prices of independence has jumped up. But there are still bargains to be had. Nick, I hope that you're in here, my friend. this is the whiskey that I've sent you. Occasionally you get a release and you wonder how it's come around. It's reasonable value. It looks like fantastic presentation. And then people start to talk about it and you decide to take a leap of faith. My heart was beating when I bought this bottle online. I hadn't tried it. I hadn't heard it from anybody that I particularly trusted that it was good, but it was generally out there on social media. The community was talking about this in a very, very positive light. Multi-Haggis Muncher Matthew, you star, absolutely good to see you, and you've spotted what it is. This is Wemyss Malts, an independent bottler, has released this product, Untold Riches. Huge brand there, you can see underneath. They spelt it wrong, that doesn't really matter. Bunnahabhain, 28-year-old Bunnahabhain. Fantastic whiskey. You can see this bottle is opened. I've already opened it. I opened this probably 2 days after it was delivered. I wanted to check what it was like. Not had a dram since, but I have poured off a wee dram for my friend Neil Laverty. I hope he's out there. I hope he's still in the chat. Maybe he's enjoying his 50th. That's okay. This is what's in your bottle, Neil. And I have to say, from the neck pour, when this was delivered, I absolutely loved it. I'm going to pour a wee dram for myself. And I'm going to pour another wee dram. Chris Pollack, the comment that I picked up there. Chris, I'm going to send that Aaron21 to you, my friend. I don't think I've got your address, Chris. But if you email me, whiskyaquavitae.com, I'll send you that along. I've just poured a 5cl. Oops. I've just poured a 5cl Untold Riches for somebody else that's going to get that soon too. I'm going to share as much of this tonight. And the reason I'm sharing as much is because a lot of these whiskies, the reason I have them is because of you, because of the community, because of how you support the channel, because of how you support me, because of how you communicate and interact and guide me and lead me. So that Untold Riches is available as well. And I guarantee you, this is a fantastic whiskey. £149. Now, I was watching this. This was still in stock, and I was hoping that it was going to remain in stock until this vPub went live, and it was in stock. It was in stock. Checked about a day ago, and it was out of stock. But up until last week, this was still on the Wemyss Malt website in stock for £149. Che Francis is saying, convinced a group of friends to do a bottle split of this, yet to get the sample over due to the travel restrictions, but sounds brilliant. Jamie Brown is saying, would like to amend my previous statement that some indies are seeing the market opportunity for affordable quality releases and garnering support because of it. It's what we are willing to pay, absolutely. The market is moving in that direction, whether it's a broker with a cask, whether it's somebody doing a bottling, whether it's the official releases. Everybody knows that people are willing to pay more for their whiskey. We are going to work as a community to find out how to pay less and still get the quality. It's out there. We work together to find out where it is. The last two that I will share with you tonight are the best value that you can buy in official release bottlings everywhere on the planet. It doesn't matter where you are. If you've got distribution of these products, you can buy these. And in the UK, the pricing that they are in the UK, it's the best value that exists in Scotch. I'm convinced of that. Rob Halford is saying, I can't spell to save my life, so I don't mind. Luna Aaron is saying, and another one that had delivery problems on the continent, promised bottles did not arrive, Brexit again. Sorry to be a party pooper here. No, not at all, Luna. I absolutely buy it. The Brexit thing it's making a mess for me. It's making a mess for everyone. It's a very, very difficult thing to manage right now. And Greg is saying, great value if it's good, Roy. Well, I've poured a sample, so somebody in the community is going to be able to enjoy it. Greg, I'm going to send it to you. You can tell me if you think it's good too. So that's the Untold Riches is going to Greg. I think I've got your address, but Greg, you can maybe send it to me again. That one's going to go to you, buddy. You can tell me what you think of it. It's super complex on the nose. It's one of these ones you put your nose in, and you're like, is this bourbon? This has been a long time in a nice bourbon cask. Is there some sherry cascaron in there? There's just lots here. There's lovely ripe fruit. Spice is before the fruit, I would say, on the nose. But it's not overt spice. It's soft. The ABV of this is 49.1% ABV. Beautiful strength as well. There's a little bit of vanillas and baked goods in here. slightly doughy. Overall, this is just a rounded, rich, complex, well-crafted nose. Delightful. Spice, I would say, has got the slight edge over some fairly ripe fruits, some dried fruits, some toffee notes and vanilla, some baked goods. But not doughy, not like yeasty, not like bready, like pastries, like crusty sugared pastries. Cheers. Age. The maturity of the whiskey is the first thing. A lovely spike of grip and spice. Immediately goes fruity. Some tinned fruits. Long finish. Lots of fizz and effervescence on the palate. Lovely ABV. Rich whiskey. I guarantee it's one of those ones that you're going to sit with. Sip after sip is going to change. It's going to get different. I'm going to look for Neil Laverty to see if he's in tonight. He is still here, Roy. As you would say, it has grip. Fantastic, Neil. I hope you're enjoying it. I think it's a terrific whiskey. I think it's a treat to be able to get this. You know, years ago, we would have got this a lot cheaper. It wouldn't have been £150, but it's not years ago. It's today. To find Bunnahabhain at 28 years old for £150 at 49.1% and being this good, it's a treat. There are no defects in this whiskey. This isn't a parcel of stock that has been passed around that nobody wanted to buy and Wemyss eventually picked it up. This is good whiskey. Very good whiskey. To my palate. My heart was beating when I bought this whiskey. But I have to say, I'm very glad I pulled the trigger and I bought it. This is a nice whiskey now that I've had a couple of whiskies out of it. Now I've shared a couple with the community, Neil, and now Greg over in Paris. I'm going to savour this. I'm going to take my time with it. And I'll share it with people who come and we've got something to talk about together. Maybe just talk about the whiskey. A terrific whiskey. It may still be out there on shelves here and there. If it is, as long as it's in the price band that I'm talking about, I think that this is one that if you can afford this style of whiskey, I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. I'm very happy to have it. And I'm also going to make one mention of a transient whiskey just before I bring in my guest for tonight. I'm running a wee bit late. Of course I am. You know, we knock Diageo with good reason most of the time, honestly. But occasionally they are able to bring us something that we can enjoy and participate in. This is 2020 release from the special releases of Cragganmore. Now, Cragganmore is a rare beast. You don't get a lot of Cragganmores from indies. You do see them occasionally, but generally speaking, mature Cragganmore, you're not going to easily find. You're going to have to hunt it down to get it. Molasses has just joined. He's supporting me in the Patreoniverse. He's joined the Barflies here. Mo, thank you very, very much. I put that there for people who don't want to step into Patreon or they don't understand what Patreon is, so they can support me through the YouTube channel membership as well. Mo, I'll raise a wee glass of this Bunnahabhain to you and welcome you on board, my friend. Thanks to you. This was released last year. Cragganmore, part of the special releases. There have been Cragganmores before. There was a peated cask one as well from the special releases. Really quite good stuff. But this was cask strength, 55.8%. 20 years old Cragganmore. And I paid £120 for cask strength. That, on paper, that seemed like a bargain to me. Now that I've got the bottle, I'm very, very glad to have it. There are other whiskies I've shared with you tonight, like these SMWS's Anox, that I would choose over this, or Knockdo, sorry, that I would choose over this, but not by much. This is a terrific whiskey to be able to get for £120. I think the RRP was 130. Got it a wee bit cheaper, I think, from the Whiskey Exchange at the time. I think that's not gouging. The price is not gouging. And the thing with Diageo is that it seems the majority of the releases, say what you want about Diageo, there's millions of it put out there, which I think is super important. If you're able to put out volume, put the volume out. Because you don't see that thing happening with secondary market and enthusiasts all tripping over each other and fighting over limited bottles. Diageo do put out good availability on the majority of their releases. I think this one's sold out now, but you will still be able to get this for a long time to come, and you're not going to pay over retail for it. In fact, I was able to see that some of these went on auction less than retail. So these whiskies, these mature whiskies, these experiences are out there when we work as a community to find them. Graham Fraser is saying, thanks, Roy, was swithering over the Untold Riches, and on your recommendation, I've just snagged a bottle on Amazon for £147. If you open that, Graham, and if you pour a dram from that and decide that it's not worth £147, I'll pay you the £147 for the open bottle. That's how confident I am that you're going to love that whiskey. I think it's a terrific whiskey, terrifically rich, terrifically complex, terrific value. Maybe the only negative thing I could say about this is that I'm not sure I could pick it out as a Bunnahabhain, and that's not to say it's anything bad. Maybe spend a bit of time with it. Maybe I will start to see some kind of Bunnahabhain elements. There is a bit of saltiness about it. Bunnahabhain can be salty. Wee bit of, but not really. Not really salty, actually. Tiny bit. Blair Stevenson is saying, Aquavita, I've only had independent Cragganmore before. However, that Diageo special release tempted me to go for an official. Did you buy it, Blair? Did you enjoy it when you got it? Caden Heads occasionally do release Cragganmores. I have seen them here and there, but they're not common. It's not often you see them, certainly not very mature. The 2019 Cragganmore special releases 12-year-old peated was fantastic. Got to try a wee sample of that, but it was way after they had all long since sold out. And the peat was quiet enough not to be overt. It was just a nice, quiet background thing. And I agree with you, Jerry, it was very tasty. Graham Fraser is saying, if you don't like it, I will take it off your hands for free. That's Lewis suggesting that he'll do you a service as well, Graham. Wonderful stuff. Anyway, let's reach out to my patient guest who's been waiting in the background now before I get to the ones that I've really been saving to share with you, to show you that these things are available to everybody. They're not just transient things that come along like those ones. When they do come along, they will come again, and we'll work as a community to find out where they are. Give me a thumbs up, Dave, if you're good to come in. He is. I want to introduce my friend because he's got a story to share with us, and he's definitely got something to celebrate tonight. Dave Cummins. Dave, so good to see you, my friend.
Hey, Roy. Thanks for having me behind the bar there, and greetings to all my fellow barflies.
Now, you have been this is a bizarre story, and I'm not going to try. I'm just going to frame it, and then I'm going to let you riff. Is that okay with you, Dave?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
First thing is, I'm very, very excited to welcome you behind the bar. This has been a long time coming. We didn't imagine it was going to play out like this, but I'm going to frame this story like this. You were put in touch with me through Whiskey Base. I can't remember the gentleman that put us in touch together. I don't know if you remember. Was it Jens Christofferson? I'm trying to remember who it was. Maybe as you're chatting, I could jump in and try and find out who that was to credit him. And the reason that you were put in touch with me is that he considered that I might be careful hands to take care of you. And the reason that somebody had to take care of you thoughtfully was that you were approaching your 50th year on this planet, and you had not yet had a sip of Scotch single malt whiskey. You had not yet had a sip of whiskey of any kind. Indeed, Dave Cummins, you had not ever even had or tried any alcohol in your life.
That's correct.
There's so many questions. So many questions. So I'm going to let you riff now. Tell us, how could that come to be? How can you end up being a barfly for 18 months now, more, I don't know how long? How can you be collecting whiskey? How can you be part of this community and have held it together? And then what eventually happened in order for you to, well, we'll get to that in the next stage. I've given you enough questions to get started with. How can it be? Share with us, buddy. Share with us.
It is an odd thing, right? I'm kind of a unicorn.
Yes.
And I get asked that a lot. And it really, I sat and tried to figure out really why? And it really comes down to momentum and some odd personal traits that I have. And so what I mean by momentum is growing up, my family didn't drink for religious reasons. So, you're from 0 to 10, your family really sets you up on how you view things, right? You have that momentum going, and okay, nobody drinks. So I didn't have that influence at all. And the thought that, okay, we don't drink. And that got it rolling. So then next I started making friends and going to other folks' houses. And this is where the odd personal traits come in. I've always been very observant of human behavior and the effects of what they do. And I had a couple of friends who had parents who were raging alcoholics. It was horrible. And as a kid, I saw that. I'm like, man, that really doesn't make any sense. So that then reinforced this momentum of, well, alcohol is not good. Okay, I guess the parents had it right. Just don't drink. And then I moved into high school, and again, it was reinforced negative stuff about alcohol. My friends were out partying, and they'd come back and say, man, I had a great time out drinking, and I threw up in my car, and I got arrested, and all these horrible things, or they blacked out and they couldn't remember it. And compared with me being in the mountains of Montana and enjoying all my stuff, I remembered it all. Again, why would you do that? So alcohol bad. Momentum. Moving into the Marine Corps, everybody who got in trouble that I knew, right at the top of the sheet, it always started out, they were out drinking and things happened. So again, reinforcing. So that's really why I just never started. And then it became a thing. It's like, what do you mean you never drank? And on and on and on. And if I can make it through the Marine Corps without drinking, that was kind of there. And I'm kind of stubborn, if you ask my wife. I set my mind to something. I just don't do it. So combined with that momentum and these personal traits is why I lasted 50 years without drinking.
So 50 years without drinking, suddenly you decide, I'm going to start drinking, but specifically, I'm not just going to start drinking. I think you had a notion, you had an idea in your head that probably the way to do it, based on your experience, based on what you've just shared with us, you skipped that. You vicariously lived through the drinking through others, and then you skipped ahead to discover the tasting, but you still hadn't tasted. You haven't sipped anything, but you realize that maybe whiskey, and specifically Scotch whiskey, intrigued you. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, there's a step in between where why drink at all? And starting back in the Marine Corps, I started having flashes of interactions with folks where me not drinking made me not have an interaction that was beneficial. And I could see that the person wanted to connect with me over a special alcohol of some sort. And I'm like, sorry, I don't drink. And, I became that guy that you're all sitting around playing Monopoly. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to play. So I'm there sitting and everybody's playing. And you're all like, what's this guy, right? So I was there, but I kind of wasn't. So I kept having those over and over and over again. And then on the other side of the coin, seeing nothing but negative stuff, I all of a sudden started seeing these instances where drinking brought people together. And I got involved in the German fests, and all of my friends were enjoying all this stuff, and they were excited to bring a special beer to an event. And I was missing out on that. And I started evaluating, well, why? And I really didn't have any reason, but I had that momentum going. And once you have momentum going, whether it's this or some bad habit or an addiction, even anything like that, momentum is powerful. So you kind of need an event. So I never was a smoker either. And at my 30th, I turned 30, I started smoking cigars. And 40, I started smoking a tobacco pipe. And 50, I'm like, well, here's an event. You know, you and I just shared our 50th last year, and that's a big deal. So that's where I'm like, well, why not? I want to enjoy and connect with people with all this alcohol events, and what a perfect time. So that's what led me to that. Now, why Scotch? Well, to honor my heritage is one, Irish and Scottish and German. So Scotch made sense because it's the true essence of it. It's not mixed with stuff. It doesn't have boily or not boily, but carbonated like beer. And there's just something refined about it. It reminds me a lot of cigars, a lot of like coffee. And I just was attracted to the science of it and the, I don't know, there's something elegant about it. And I really don't know, but there's just something about Scotch whiskey that I found
it appealed to you. It appealed to you.
Right.
So let me fill in then, because I think what happened, and you can nod if I'm correct, you reached out to the guys in Whiskey Base, and you popped a message in Whiskey Base and said, here's the story. What would your advice be? What should I do? Yeah. Somebody in Whiskey Base noticed this and said, look at this guy. This is Roy. He's Aquavita. He does this. He does this the next thing. And then he sent me that message. And I tentatively just put a soft thing in there to say, look, this is a big deal. This might be above my pay grade, but you know, here's what I do and here's what I would suggest. And through that, you and I started to discuss and talk. But it went from being, okay, I'm not sure, to that enthusiasm from Dave Cummins I got. You were ready.
I'm ready, yeah. That's right.
You were ready. And I said, okay. We'd come up with this plan as what you're interested in. You talked about Glengoyne. I had already suggested Glengoyne is a great one because of the products that are available at low ABV, accessible, the flavor profile. I thought it would hook you. The accessibility of Glengoyne, it fit perfectly with you. We reached out to Glengoyne. We said, what do you think about this? They said, yeah, come along. We'll look after you. It was all set up.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Ticket spot, seat spot. We're ready.
With your friends, coming over as well to Scotland. And then suddenly, well, the pandemic, you know, everybody's plans are knocked into the... Right. Now, everybody's going through it, Dave. Everybody's suffering. Everybody's got to change their ways in their life. And some people are affected much worse than us. But for you, as the months tick on, then it's different. It means something different to you now, because you've made the decision to do it, and you're already at 50 years old. Time is ticking away. You don't want to burn too much more time, and to exacerbate things, if I can say that, you're part of a community.
Exactly.
How could that happen if somebody that doesn't drink whiskey, you've been a barfly for, like I say, 18 months?
Yeah. Well, again, I just love the whiskey community. It's similar to cigars. Everybody comes together and unites over whether it be cigars or whiskey. I loved the science, and truly it was the vPubs and coming in here and chatting with folks in the chat. And there's just such a community. And I enjoy how passionate people are over the whiskey, and they're so excited to share it with others. And it's really intoxicating to me. I found it fascinating. Then on the flip side, you have the science behind it. So I started reading about it and how it was done, and then I even started buying a few whiskeys after watching some videos and hearing Ralphie talk about things. And okay, great. And it fit in really well with, like, I like to be a host as well. People come over, I'm, hey, try this, how that. Doesn't matter if I like it or not. I enjoy bringing joy to people through food or whatever. So I'm like, well, I can start buying some whiskey, and when I eventually drink, I'll have some. And man, it turned into a year, and I had some discretionary income, so I kind of went off the deep end a bit, and I bought a lot of whiskey.
How many bottles do you? Is it too personal to ask how many bottles you bought in the last year?
Oh, geez. It's around 70. So I think I might hold another record, the most alcohol owned by a non-drinker ever. So it's obsessive.
And we're not just talking about random bottles. We are speaking about a chase, a journey, a selective. You're going after, and you're buying American whiskies, you're buying Scotch, you're buying world whiskies. You're just you're picking up on these things that you might be interested to try and contrast at some point in the future.
Yeah, and it's the hunt. I mean, I got a little bit of a rush skipping into the alcohol store, right? The liquor store, like, hey, maybe that art bag would be there. I haven't found that one yet. So it's trying to find the bottle that you've researched, and now I got to find it. So I don't know. There's something fun about that.
Quite incredible. Yep. Thomas Elmer is already predicting. He's saying, good Lord, I hope Rex wasn't involved. More on that in a minute, Thomas. Hey, Whiskey Share Toby is saying Untold Riches is 31 casks of whiskey. Wow, that's a decent parcel of stock. Clearly, that's a lot of decent whiskey that makes up that bottling. I agree with you, Toby, and I hope you've tried it, buddy, because it's pretty fantastic. And Luna Aaron is saying, Dave Cummins, I'm just wondering, have you smelled whiskey and decided you like it? Well, it's gone. We'll get to that, Luna. It's gone further than that. But have you been smelling the whiskey before you drank it?
Yeah, I'm a bit obsessive, and again, I have a science brain as well. So I bought one of those nosing kits, the expensive nosing kits that helps isolate the different smells. So I would watch you review, watch the different Whiskey Tribe channels or all the things, and I would pour that whiskey and I would smell it, and I would get the nosing kit out and I'd smell it, and then I'd hand it to my wife. And she didn't like whiskey before, but she likes it now. So I would smell, she would drink. If she didn't like it, well, it was fun. So I did have a good last 4 months or 5 months or so where I was smelling the whiskey, and it just again piqued my interest. So even without drinking it, there is something. Yeah, there's a lot of elements to it, right? There's the tactile stuff. You can pick up the Glencairn glass. You can see it swirling in there. You have the audible stuff and a cork unpopping. There's all of this stuff around it, and an aroma, and how all that science works is fascinating too. So you have all of this stuff that the human brain just finds intriguing. So I was doing everything but actually drinking, and it was killing me, Roy. I was so afraid. It's like, okay, and I'd come in here and watch the chat here in the vPub, and everybody's, what are you drinking? And you're toasting, and I'm like, oh, I can't do it. So I must say, this was my first time to drink along with y'all, and it has really been fantastic. So.
And you can see that Dave has something in his glass there. We'll talk to him about that in a minute. All the while that this is happening, you're buying, you're studying, you're sciencing, you're doing all of this. Well, you're part of the community. You and I are talking, and eventually I get this kind of heartfelt email from you, and you say, Roy, I don't know how long I can wait. This is killing me, as you say. And then you talked about the fact that you've been wrapped up in the community. You're now involved. You're watching Ralph, as you mentioned. You're also watching Daniel and Rex and the tribe and the Whiskey Vault down in Texas there. And you mentioned, listen, I've got some connections down in Texas. Do you think the tribe would be interested in doing anything? And I said, well, okay, let me reach out to them. I was pretty confident that they would. And I reached out to the tribe and I said, look, I've got this guy. He's Dave. And I told them your story. And Rex came back immediately and said, let's talk. This sounds fun. Tell us how that progressed. What happened there?
Well, they sent some emails and said they were interested in doing something. And we just started talking, and we quickly set a date. It was within 2 weeks or so. And
which suited you, because you were in no mood to wait any longer.
Yeah, that's right. And it's an interesting thing when it became real at that point. And kind of did a little bit of a bridezilla sort of thing there. You want the moment to be special, and your emotions get in your way. And I wanted to make sure it was all perfect, and had to laugh at myself because I sent you an email too, is clarifying, just because you can't see it. And so we got it all worked out and loaded up the RV, and off we went to Texas.
Specifically to the campus there at the Fang and Feather, the Whiskey Vault. You got to see the fantastic facilities, just the place that is. It's amazing to see. Kresimir is saying, Dave Cummins, kudos to you. I can't look at a closed bottle for more than 7 days. And Malt Mondays is saying, Paul is saying 70 bottles in a year. He must have a back entrance the wife doesn't know about. Well, you're interesting. You're sharing it with your wife.
She's
she
been
knows
involved.
she's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's been a good sport.
And Molasses is being whimsical, and he's saying, I feel like we've just witnessed a loss of virtue.
It does feel that way. Yeah, we'll get to that.
A little bit, but in a nice way, in a positive way. So we managed to get it worked out. You go down there, and Daniel and Rex, I have to say, from what I was able to participate in, it looked amazing what they laid on for you, the way that they worked it out. And they had a crew that filmed this, right?
Yes. Yeah, we had a special episode where they're asking me questions and very gracious. Those guys, I just love those guys, and they'll always be special to me. And they really laid out the welcome mat. I had a lot of my dearest friends come in just for the event, and they descended and were waiting on the deck, and we went in and did some video, and then they asked me to choose of the ones that they had set before me, which one I wanted to do. So they had
what did they have laid out in front of? Would that be a spoiler, do you think?
Maybe. We'll say one was a Glengoyne 12-year-old, and we'll leave the rest for them to discover later. But you did specifically ask that Glengoyne be acknowledged in some way because of how open they were to your approach and our idea together and things. So I know that you wanted to weave Glengoyne into it, and you might talk a wee bit more about that in a second. Yes,
Dave, you've got something in the glass there. What do you have?
Oh, well, right now I have Eleanor from the Crowded Barrel Distillery. Their New Oak. That's what I have in there now.
Perfect. Listen, you made a small comment to me, and my friend Macallan Fine and Rare is watching tonight, and I hope he doesn't mind or he doesn't get offended by this, because the bottle I'm about to pour is probably my most precious bottle that's open. Wow. I don't have any way to replace this, but I'm going to pour a wee sample of this for you to send it to you because of a comment that you made. And I think you might enjoy it because you were looking for a 1970 vintage to mark all of this that we're talking about. So for you, Dave Cummins, I've poured some of this that was gifted to me by my friend for my 50th birthday, Macallan Fine and Rare, the doc. And he sent this to me, and I was blown away. I couldn't even fathom the distillery. This is from a closed distillery called North of Scotland. And this was distilled. I'm going to pour just a tiny amount of this. This is precious liquid. Very, very careful with it. Did you notice that I didn't intend to do that, but that's the least I've filled a 5cl bottle tonight, I think.
I don't blame you.
Apologies, it was subconscious, clearly. But this is it's from a German bottler. It's called Finest Whisky. It's got a German painting on there and some details about the fact that we're drinking a 47.1% North of Scotland distillery, distilled in 1970. This is grain whiskey. This is not made from malt. This is made from grain. From my experience with this, I'm fairly convinced. At this age, it's trickier to tell, I think, but I'm fairly convinced that this is mostly corn that's in this whiskey, but it's delectable. It's the closest that you'll taste, Dave, to Scotch bourbon, honestly speaking. It's wonderfully, it's almost like you can't really taste bourbon at this age because you can't mature bourbon that long in fresh virgin oak casks. But this is kind of that mix of bourbon with that mix of maturity. There's something very, very like old and dusty. It's like an old, sweet, dusty library. I'm certain this is corn. It could be wheat, but I'm certain it's corn. It's very sweet. I'm sorry, but when you get this sample, maybe we can hook up and I'll pour another wee precious drop of this and we can enjoy it together. I want to share it with you. And it's going to be potentially a while before we do get to meet in real life, but I think you might enjoy this. I'm going to raise this glass and say thank you to my friend Doc for this precious whiskey that I have.
Very kind of you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh, it's lovely. So lovely. I think you're going to love that. I think you'll love it. So you filmed it. we're expecting this video to come out, and I can't wait for it. I really can't wait to see it. We're expecting this video to come out in the next week, couple of weeks thing. We don't really know from the guys, right?
Right. Yeah, it could be any day. Yeah.
And it'll come out on the Whisky Tribe channel. We don't know how they're going to frame it or title it or whatever. I think both of us trust Daniel and Rex to do whatever they want to do, and it's going to be a great job. I cannot imagine better people to have put you into the care of than Daniel and Rex and that setup that they have there.
Absolutely. They, I just can't say enough about them. They are experts at creating an event and an experience for people. They're really.
You shared lots of images with me.
Yes.
I've enjoyed looking through them. I'm not going to share them here, but I picked 2 or 3 to share that there are no spoilers in here, just glimpses, okay? To share with all the barflies, just to show you show them the event. Here is just after your first few sips. I think what's in the glass here is your second dram that you tried, not your first. But Daniel, and I hope that nobody can work out what Daniel pulled out, the gesture that Daniel made by pulling out that whiskey and opening it in front of you there to let you try it I was choked up. I was amazed. That is what Daniel is unveiling there is more than fitting a mark. Quite unbelievable. Rare whiskey. Anyway, no spoilers, Dave. No spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil, but my 5th sip of whiskey was that whiskey. And it's like putting a 16-year-old in a rare super sports car. So it's quite the moment.
Like with the bumpers up and the airbags on, though. So you were in safe space to do that.
I was, yeah.
And the next image here is you at the moment where you'd made your speech. You talked about where you were to that point. I know exactly where this is. I've been at that very spot. That's you right outside the Fang and Feather there. And that's the moment you were just about to sip it. You can see the crew filming it. I think it's one of your friends in the blue shirt there, but they had a few guys filming and recording audio around as well. Fantastic. And then here's the party that you traveled with. These are all your friends standing outside the Fang and Feather in Texas. Just really amazing stuff.
It was remarkable.
Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
That was remarkable. And many of them came up and told me how much of a privilege it was and how awesome that experience was, and they will probably never experience anything like it again. And I agree. It was really that special, and I can't wait for the video to come out, and hopefully everybody will be able to see how fun and special and cool that was. Surely,
I know that everybody, all of the barflies are out there going, tell us, how did he react? What did he think of his first sip of whiskey? What was the first sip of whiskey? What was his second sip? What did he do after that? All of these questions and more will be answered when the video is released. That's, I think, the takeaway here. We want to people have fun watching this video to see how you do it and go progress through the moment. And I have to say, you took it in your stride. You did very, very well. But you could tell that you were facing this moment. I could feel the emotion. I could feel the tension. I could feel the gravity of what was happening. And I was tuning in over a Zoom call on a little portable screen, right? But I felt like I was there. It was a privilege for me to be able to tune in. It was an amazing thing. I'm really looking forward to the video coming out, Dave. I hope it's as good as the moment was itself. I'm sure it will be. Daniel, Rex, and the team there do a fantastic job. I can't wait to see it.
Indeed, and I do look forward to having drams with people, and cigars was it was the first thing that made me pause and sit down and enjoy life, and be with other people. Whiskey now is about connecting with others for me, and I'm excited to try what your favorite whiskey is, and I think that's really the focus is going to be for me. So if you tell
us what you've got in that glass in front of you right now, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you to nose it. Give us two or three notes from the aroma from the nose, and then have a wee sip and give us your experience as you share. What are you sipping?
I'm still a virgin.
Eleanor?
Yes, this is the Eleanor, and it's the New Oak from the Crowded Barrel Distillery. And it's a high proof guy, which is kind of bizarre that I'm really liking it, but 59.2%. and it is a fabulous whiskey, but you can definitely smell the AV on it. But to me, I always smell caramel. It's either green apples or caramel is all I smell usually in a lot of these whiskeys. But it's just wonderful. And I don't think I'll stop the habit of pouring a dram and sniffing it for a long time, watching YouTube video and swirling it. Yeah, caramel.
Cheers to you, Dave.
Cheers. Bye, everyone. That's just so good.
That's exactly my thoughts. You took the thoughts right. I love whiskey. I really, really do love whiskey. I love what it does. I love what it stands for. I love what its heritage. I love everything about it. I love the fact that it's not food or sustenance or nutrition. It's just there purely for pleasure. I think that there's something very, very dear to you. You've suffered loss recently. And we talked about this. We talked about the fact that this thing exists to engage with us and remind us what it is to be mortal, to be alive, to share what we have, to share being with each other, to take care over these moments. And I think it's very, very difficult to find many things that does it as effectively as a nice, good quality glass of whiskey does. I'm very grateful. It's taken you 50 years, Dave Cummins, but I'm very grateful that you discovered it. Honestly, my wish for you for the future is that you go forward and you continue to explore and sip and contrast and smell and taste past apples and caramel and all of those American whiskies and dial that out a bit and dig deeper and discover more and just love your journey going forward into Scotch, into American, into world whiskies, whatever it may be. But more, what I wish for you is that you're able to evangelize to all your friends that haven't discovered this privilege that whiskey is as well and share it with them too in the future.
Absolutely. That's my goal as well, to unite others over this marvelous liquid that there's nothing else like it in the world. It's truly a unique experience. In every sip, it's just an amazing reaction that it has on your body. Like I said,
that's you a week and a half in.
Yeah. I'm still in my
You've yet to have a hangover. You've yet to be drunk.
No, I've tried, but apparently I inherited those good Irish genes, and I can't. I have a high tolerance, and I hope that stays. But again, there's no really need to get drunk. I'm happy to sit in. It's not about that. It's about connecting with people and enjoying the tastes and smells and sounds of the whiskey. And there's no need to do the rest of that stuff. So.
Buddy, I think that you might be on a future vPub at some point down the line talking about how your journey is and keeping us up to date with how the progress is going and things like that, and maybe share some of your epiphanies and your watershed moments along the way with us. Are you able to stay around for the rest of the evening? Are you comfortable? Are you able to stay?
Absolutely am. I am ready to go. So
fantastic. In that case, I'm going to pull you back in for the quiz a wee bit later as well, and you can see out the rest of the session with us and watch while I share 2 or 3 of my whiskies that I hope has been worthwhile hanging out to this point to hear what they are. There's not going to be a lot of surprises in there for a lot of people, but I guarantee if you happen upon either of these whiskies, Dave, if you don't love it right now, some point in the future you're going to raise a glass of these and say, wow. And until that happens, I'll raise this glass to Dave Cummins in 50 years, to Daniel and Rex and everybody out there at the tribe in Texas, to all your friends and family that joined, to everybody, to all the barflies that you've been able to make friends with over the months and months that you've been here waiting for this moment to happen. Can't wait to see that video. And in the meantime, keep enjoying it, Dave. I'm really glad that you and I were connected over this. Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Slàinte. Cheers. See you soon, Dave. What a story. What an amazing story. Great comments coming in. I've had a dram as well from my friend Jimmy Jazz out in the States. Jim, you star. Cheers, Dave. Sipping some 21-year-old Glenburgie. Soon you'll enjoy the smell of Play-Doh. Aye, it's a thing. It really does get into the whiskies at times too. I can pick up Play-Doh often on grain whiskies, honestly, Jimmy. Occasionally on bourbons as well. Callum Muir is saying it's been a fantastic story to follow along with, and I look forward to watching his combination and interested to hear what Dave's next whiskey chapter and where it will lead him. Absolutely, Callum. And Stewie Baby's saying, what spirit whiskey animal has Dave chosen to go along with the eagle and the bear, obviously, of Daniel and Rex? Another dram's come in from Dancing Midgie. Glenn, you start. It's been a great week of making people smile, or making smiles. Pay it forward. That's the spirit. Absolutely, Glenn. Tonight's vPub has the icing on the cake. Great chat with wonderful people. Glenn, I'm going to raise a wee glass to you. Thank you always for your generosity, my friend. It's wonderful to have you as part of this community too. Cheers, Jimmy Jazz, and cheers to Glenn. Missing your happy face, Jim Jensen. Okay, let's roll into these last whiskies. One of the transient whiskies that comes along, this isn't a malt whiskey, but I want to talk about it because it comes along occasionally. I bought 2 of these when it came out last year. I couldn't believe that such a whiskey could exist for the price. This is a blend from North Star. I'll just show you it very, very quickly. Just as another example of some of the things that you can get your hands on. 40 years old. 40-year-old whiskey, 44.8% ABV. That's no dilution there. That's I believe that's just how this parcel of stock came about, the 44.8%. I actually bought 2 bottles of this, and the reason I bought a second bottle was not to be greedy for myself. It was because when I was approaching a certain milestone inside the Patreon community, I was going to pour this bottle into a bottle split, and I had 1 of these for myself, 1 dram out of this bottle, and then all of the rest of it went out to patrons, and I hope that they're enjoying it as well. This is a blend. This isn't malt. It's quite a different experience at 40 years old. And at 44.8%, it's very easy to enjoy. It's quite light and easy, but still lots and lots of flavour. Give it time in the glass. And it was quite incredible. What were you doing 40 years ago? You can sit and sip something like this and contemplate that. That's an amazing privilege that whiskey gives us, specifically, honestly speaking, Scotch whiskey. 40 years old, £120. Quite amazing. Anyway, I've saved the best 2. I believe, this is my opinion, you tune in to hear my opinions. That's what you're doing. You can apply your own rational intelligence and understand that it is just my opinion. You're going to make your own opinions yourself. This is the last dram I'm going to pour tonight. It's from one of these bottles. I don't think either of these are going to be a surprise to you because I've talked about one of them at length before, and recently the other one has crept up more and more as we start to discover it. As the prices rise, we start to look where the prices are still accessible, and we start to discover the other bottle I'm going to share with you. This is £115. Says natural colour on the label. It says unchill filtered on the label. It says it's 24 years old on the label. And as I said, £115. The only other thing we can ask is that it's good whiskey, and it's amazing whiskey. The super complex, super interesting, very, very easy to look past Anok, 24 years old. This is my second bottle. I'm going to open this. I'm going to enjoy it. And at £115, yes, I'll be a bit more careful with it, but you can relax and enjoy that lovely, lovely treat that a 24-year-old whiskey is bringing at £115. It's quite incredible. It's a privilege. It's a treat. Anok, Knockdhu, Inver House have made a mess of things at Balblair. They've given us things to navigate that we previously didn't have to navigate, but it's their business. They can do what they like. I've tried to reconnect with Balblair with varying levels of success, honestly. A distillery that I loved has suddenly drifted out of reach. Old Pulteney, same. They had an amazing core range, and they still have an amazing core range, but it's expensive now, and it's strange and odd and not as easy to connect with as it was. Fine, maybe it'll come back again. Speyburn is amazing. Inver House, Speyburn is amazing. Please don't mess it up. Balmenic, you don't do much with Balmenic. There's treats there. There's treasures to uncover. Maybe you could consider bringing it to us. But please, I beg you, do not screw up Anok. Don't screw up what you're doing at Knockdhu Distillery. It is gold. It's amazing. Everything from your 40% 12-year-old is fantastic. I miss the 16-year-old ex-bourbon, I'll be honest, but I'm not going to complain. The 18-year-old, it's my whiskey of the year. That's how much I love the whiskey coming out of that distillery up there. This 24-year-old is close, arguably the best value in Scotch whisky. And I've been talking about this for 2 years now. I went back to the first time that I held up a bottle of Annock 24, and it was about 2 years ago on the vPub. I shared it with everybody to say how much I loved the whisky, and I couldn't believe the value it was. It was £110 back then, I think. More or less the same price. Right, Sullivan's saying, don't get me started in Inver House. Yeah, it's that kind of yin-yang thing, right? Bal Blair and Old Pulteney. It's like, what? What have you done? We love this stuff. It was perfect. We understand things have got to move on, but they don't need to be a step change. They don't need to throw out everything and start again. That isn't the distillery or the producers or the owners that did that. That was an agency. That was consultants. That was people come in that did that. My gut feel. People that didn't understand whiskey, they were not part of it. We've done some market research. We've surveyed and we've done this and we think and we checked and don't do the same with, please don't do it to Speyburn. There's more to come on the vPub in the future on Speyburn. Honest to God, Speyburn's terrific whiskey, it really is. And there's more to come on Annock. If you keep doing what you're doing, we will celebrate it. We will make sure that it's successful as much as we possibly can in this community. Please keep bringing it. So where can I go from there? Where can I go from a 24-year-old whiskey at £115? Well, that's bourbon and sherry cask in that. Lovely complex whiskey, wonderful stuff. You know my preference. Something that's been left in refill casks for a long time, where we can leverage that amazing thing we have in Scotch whisky, time. The quiet cask, the lovely spirit, the environment. It can sit in that cask for 20 years or more and just turn into something that is truly marvelous, something amazing to behold. What about if we kept Annock's presentation? We want it to be natural colour. We want it to be unchill filtered. We want it to have a good age statement. We want it to be available everywhere. What if we could have that and have what I've asked, what I'm enjoying in that really, really old Knockdo from SMWS, that time, you can taste the time. What if we could have it? And what if we could also be really cheeky and ask for it to be less than £100? It exists and it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing, in my opinion. It's not the same as Annock 12. It's a different take on malt whiskey. This is exclusively ex-bourbon, right up my street. Refill casks and hoggies. My hero whiskey last year, my first hero whiskey that I raved about was Glencadam, a 10-year-old. This is Glencadam. This is 21-year-old Glencadam. I know that people in the chat already would have guessed exactly what I'm talking about. This is 21-year-old whiskey. It says unchill filtered, natural colour, 46% ABV, £99. That was not a special offer. I didn't need to connect with the community. I didn't need a tip off. This is the retail price of this whiskey, £100. If I was to talk to you about what it tasted like, it's completely removed from anything else I've had tonight. This is suddenly clean and vibrant and tropical. The fruit here is tropical. This is a top note whiskey. Ex-refill bourbon, hogsheads. It's alive in the glass, but the age and the maturity is there. There is a hint and a whiff of dunnage, of age, of maturity. There's an ever so slight dustiness about it. It's really, really appealing. This is the kind of glass that I would nose and know immediately I was in the kind of company of the whiskey that I love more than anything. Really creamy, really just, the spices are all quiet, everything is in check. This is balanced and mellow. This is not the type of whiskey I would easily recommend to everybody. You have to have a love for the style of whiskey, for the style of specifically Scotch whiskey, well-aged in quiet casks for a long time and presented naturally, fully intact, all the texture, all the grip, everything there. Am I saying it? This would be easy for a beginner to drink, but I think it would not be so easy for a beginner to appreciate. The complexity in this, the deliciousness of it, the way it's fruity and quiet and light, even some kind of slightly, I mean, there is still the idea of grain or grass or something maybe slightly floral, like a hayfield thing. And this is 21 years. Gary Carew is saying, stop tempting me with £100 whiskies. This is not intended to drive fear of missing out. This is not intended to get everybody rushing out and spending £100 on whiskies. Don't. I have been very careful tonight. Glenfarclas, Glengoyne, RN21, Inoch 24 and Glencairn 21. That's the ones I'm recommending to you. In the middle, I sandwiched all of the transient stuff that comes and goes, and we have to work as a community to fathom how to get our hands on those when they come along. But everything else that I've recommended tonight is going to be available tonight, tomorrow, next week, and a few weeks down the line, and months down the line, honestly. It's core range product. It's going to be out there in the supply chain and on shelves for months and months to come. You don't need to chase this stuff. I'm just giving you ideas for when you do have that moment, when you do have the justification to spend a wee bit more, to splash out and treat yourself. Maybe it doesn't have to be a Dave Cummins type celebration. It can be anything that you're celebrating or marking, or it can just be some quiet time for yourself. But when you are in a position to splash out a wee bit more, to push the boat out a little bit, I'm giving you some suggestions where I think you're going to get the best bang for your buck, to use that tired phrase. That's what I'm talking about. Gary, I don't mean to tempt you. I'm going to pour my last dram tonight. So that's 5 drams I'm giving out. I've got one going to Dave. I've got one going to Greg. I've got one going to Chris Pollack. And I've got one going to Helen and Andy. Somebody's going to get a decent dram of this Glencairn 21. And that's me giving a dram of everything I've been sipping tonight, including my precious North of Scotland from the dock. I'll keep that in order so I know which is which. And this is going to go out to somebody as well. Gary Carew, this is your dram. Gary, I think I've got your address, but I'm not tempting you with £100 whiskey. And if I am, at least wait. You can try this first. I bought mine from Master Malt at £99. It's also available on the Whisky Exchange at £9. This is available. This is in retailers. This is everywhere. Gary Carew. I think I've got your address, but in case I haven't, you can email whisky@aquaviti.com, Gary. I'd be happy to send this along to you. Listen, for anybody that didn't get the drams tonight, I was just being very random. I didn't want the stress of working out how to draw a name and things. I was just kind of randomly going to just connect randomly with people and comments and things and share it that way. For anybody that didn't get, most of you that didn't get anything tonight, you know it's the vPub. I'll find ways of sharing whiskey with you. It's what the whole channel is founded upon. I can't give everything to everybody all the time, of course, but I will always try my very, very best. As Dave even said tonight when he was on, the appeal of this thing is the connectedness. It's bringing people together. And that's very much what's done it for me. Gary Carew saying, very kind, Roy. You're very, very welcome, my friend. Jimmy Legg is saying, it's not here. I can guarantee you that. I know, Jimmy, you live in planet Canada, which is super connected and super, I don't know, it's very metropolitan country, isn't it? Right up until you talk about the state-controlled whiskey licensing. It's ridiculous. But I worry what would happen if that opened up, right? There would suddenly be a lot less Scotch. Aye, Jimmy, I know. I'll find ways to get whiskey to you too, my friend. What? No gifts for all 300 of us, says Jerry Miller. Maybe at some point in the future, buddy. If things keep going, you never know. It might just be one of those kind of things that I'm able to say, yeah, everybody can have some of this. Not nearly there yet. And Helen is saying, thanks again for Glengoyne sample. Much appreciated and generous to a fault as always. No, you are too, Helen and Andy. Thank you very, very much. Okay, we've kicked the backside out of tonight again. I hope there's been some value in it, some stories to share, some moments to mark, some celebrations to have. Neil Laverty's 50th. I'll raise this wee Bunnahabhain as well. I've still got some of this left in the glass for you, Neil. Many happy returns. Many happy 50th birthday, my friend. Cheers. Celebrating Dave's amazing. Oh, Bunnahabhain's, all of these whiskies are amazing. They're amazing. Dave's able to enjoy his moment as well. All the things that they've shared tonight. It's just, yes. Think about it. You're happy to spend £50 on a bottle of whiskey. Just every now and again, skip a bottle and spend 100 on a really, really precious one. And if you think, okay, don't judge it on the first pour, the neck pour. If you think in time that I've done you a disservice, I'll stand up and apologise. Come back to me, tell me that you're not connecting with these amazing things, these privileges that are special occasion whiskies, absolutely, but 20-plus-year-old whiskies. I'm 15, 16 years into my journey, and I still look at this and consider, what was I doing 20 years ago? And I didn't look, behave, or think anything like I do today. It's amazing. It's amazing to consider. Ryan Sutherland is saying, what a gent. Did I offer something, Ryan? Chris Pollack is saying, did you pick me for the RM21? I have it on my shelf, so I would like you to pick someone else. Ryan Sutherland, you can have the RM21. And I'll make a note, Chris, to pour something else for you for your generosity, something that you probably don't have. So that's a 6th dram I need to remember to pour tomorrow. Okay, very, very late. Let's get the quiz on the go, but it's the vPub. We're going to chill out about that. Hopefully Dave and Tom are still available in the background to be able to come on and play along with the quiz. It is an easy one tonight, I have to say. It's my quiz. It's not a Menno quiz tonight. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's a wee bit easier. There will be some banana skins and some ass hats, of course. It is the vPub quiz at the end, of course. But let's get it started. Graham Fraser is excited for the quiz. I am too. Let's bring in my friends. Dave Cummins, I'll bring you in now. And Tom Scaramuzza, I'll bring you in too. So we've got Scotland, America, and England for the quiz at the end. What a privilege. Superb. Are you ready, guys?
Man, I rarely score over 4, so tonight's my night. So if I beat,
we're going to try and push you over the pass mark tonight, Dave. Okay. Tom, what's your average score? How do you normally score?
All over the place. So there was the Deanston one that I got 10 out of 10, and then there was one that I got 4 out of 10. So it really depends on the quiz. So probably about a 7.
I'm confident, Tom Scaramuzza, you're going to get your 7 tonight.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
I think you really, really are. Let's see how we do. Listen, these quizzes are always multiple choice. You're only playing against yourself. There are no prizes or anything. You can share your answers and your scores in the lounge in the chat window if you like. But bear in mind, it's just a bit of fun. Okay, good luck, guys. We'll get this thing rolling and ask question 1. Glenfiddich has released its latest edition of the Grand series. I don't know if they're pronouncing it Grand or Grand. I'm terrible at French pronunciation. The Grand Couronne, I think it is. Greg's Whiskey Guide is in the chat tonight. He'll be obviously crying as I pronounce that. But it's a 26-year-old finished in what? Grand Couronne, is it finished in A, rum casks, B, cognac casks, or C, French cuvée casks? Jimmy Jazz is helping me define where the quizzes are. Ronald is excited about quiz time. Stevie is in. I don't think I can give Aquaviti a timeout on his own channel. Is that what you're thinking about? Because I'm saying the quiz is easy. Ryan Sutherland is saying it was just a point about your generosity. Thank you so much, Roy, for the free dram. What a star. You're welcome, Ryan. Absolutely, you're welcome. hoping that I'm not offending anybody by dipping into the chat and picking people out randomly like that. Tom, let's go for Tom. Would you have a guess here? Would you care to guess, or do you know this one?
I'm going to have a guess.
Okay.
I'm going to go with B. That's
B.
my guess.
And I can see that Dave's nodding. He thinks it's cognac casks as well, and you're both absolutely right. Most of the barflies in the community are absolutely right as well. 26-year-old Grand Couronne, 43.9%, I think, from memory. £450. Thank you, Glenfarclas. Thank you.
I won't be picking up a bottle.
Yes, that's right. I mean, it's not. Look at the packaging. It tells you 100 paces it's not intended for us. That's okay. Question 2. A new Whisky Tube channel recently released an homage to an early aquavitae concept. Which one? Which concept has just recently, I'm talking about in the last week, gone out in part as an homage to an early aquavitae concept? Not a lot of people has seen this. I would love more people to see this. What an excellent channel. The guy's only got 3 or 4 videos on. Very, very promising. Vin at No Nonsense Whiskey switched me onto this. But is it an homage to A, hero whiskies, B, recycled reviews, or C, how to pronounce? I'm going to try and find this so that I can put a link in this guy's in the chat for this guy's channel. I think it's worthy of your time, what he has put out there already, and I think we should be encouraging content like this, especially when he's filling a fantastic niche that doesn't exist right now. Paste, and it goes. What do you know the answer to this, Dave?
I'm just guessing, and that was one of my earliest videos that I watched of yours, is how to pronounce all these names. So if it's not that, somebody out there needs to do more of it. Just help guys like me. So I'm going to guess C.
Fantastic. And Tom?
It's another educated guess. I'm going to go for something slightly different. I'm going to go for A.
Hero Whiskies. I did put a banana skin there. Eric Waite recently put out a Hero Whiskies video. That's not what I'm looking for. Recycled Reviews has been parodied, copied, homages, right, left, and centre. But recently, it was how to pronounce. And the link I just put in the channel was to Mac at Campai Planet, who's done a few excellent whiskies on excellent videos, on Japanese whiskies. And he recently did an homage to the how to pronounce, but he's obviously doing Japanese. So he's bringing his absolute own content, and it's very well done as well. Good quality. I guarantee you it's worthy of your time. Give him a wee subscribe. Question 3. Which distillery released its first official core range 25-year-old in 2020? First release of an official 25-year-old in 2020. Was it A, Arran? Should be Isle of Arran, I guess. B, Springbank. Or C, Speyside? Speyside isn't just a region. Speyside is also a distillery. They release a range of products called Spey. But who of those 3 released the first 25-year-old in 2020? A, Arran, B, Springbank, C, Speyside. Whiskey Reader is saying that concept brought me here. He's talking about how to pronounce. Yes, it's been good for the channel, that wee video. It's been very good. Guys, I'll ask Tom, who released a 25-year-old last year?
Yeah, so I don't know for sure, but I know they opened in 95, so it is a little bit of an educated guess, but I'm going to go for Arran.
And Dave is agreeing?
I will copy, yeah, just because I've been hunting for Arran.
You can't get it easily. That's a shame because it's good stuff.
Hey.
It's a good stuff. Maybe with the 700 ml bottlings being allowed into the States now, you'll start to get more stuff, which means that there'll be less for us, which is a shame. I hope that's not how it shakes up. Anyway, well done, guys. Absolutely. Most of the community got that very, very easy. That's a low ball one. I hope it's doing you well. I hope there's going to be lots, and I can see there are lots of 3s out of 3s. Happy people tonight. Question 4. What happened at Glenfarclas in 1972? This is a wee bit more tricky. What happened there in 1972? This is not something to celebrate. A, removal of direct fired stills. B, the end of floor maltings. Or C, their stills were reduced from 8 to 4. Something happened in 1972 that is said to have potentially changed the whiskey coming out of Glenfarclas. It's me helping you a little bit. That's now broken it down to be a 50-50 potentially there. A, removal of direct fired stills. B, the end of floor maltings. Or C, reduced from 8 to 4. They're very, very knowledgeable people in the chat. Are you tempted to take your answer from them, or are you tempted to go with your gut? Dave, what do you think?
I'm just guessing. B, into floor maltings.
And Tom, what would you guess?
Yeah, I've gone B. I think they still have their direct fired stills, so it's 50-50 for me, and I'm just going to go for B.
So if you're going down together.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately not. You're absolutely right.
I've
The
already
Pagoda series is a very, very expensive range of whiskies released regularly, ruby encrusted decanters and things that predate 1972 to celebrate floor malting products. But yes, Glenfarclas did get rid of their own floor maltings in 1972. Fortunately, yes, they still have, Tom, you're absolutely right, direct fired stills. And in fact, over the years, Glenfarclas has not reduced their amount of stills. They have only increased. Question 5. It's pictures from Wikipedia. Clearly, we're looking at a distillery. Doig's ventilator standing proud on top of what once would have been the kiln building there. But I'm obviously just going to ask you, what are we looking at? Are we looking at A, Dallas Dew, B, Conville Moor, or C, Port Ellen? There might be a wee clue to help you, because we're looking at 3 closed distilleries here. Dallas Dew closed in 1983. Conville Moor also closed in the 80s. Port Ellen also coincidentally closed in 1983. I wonder if I think Conville Moor was maybe a wee bit later in the 80s from memory. I might be mistaken. I can see confidence from Tom. Dave, I think you'll be blind guessing here.
Yep.
Maybe I'll ask Tom first, shall I? Tom, give us your guess.
Yeah, it's absolutely a guess. So it's tenuous. It's a white building, so I'm going to go with the Isla theme, and I'm going to go with Port Ellen. So C.
C. Dave is not agreeing.
No, I'm going with A because I really enjoy saying duh.
Well, Tom, what you missed there was the little sign. See the visitor sign there in the courtyard? This is an open distillery. Well, how can 3 closed distilleries be open? Well, Dallas Dew, up until the pandemic, was open as a museum. So it's Dallas Dew. So Dave gets a point there. Tom, you slipped up on that one, but I can see why. And actually, if I'm truthfully honest with you, Tom, I feel a wee bit guilty. The reason I put Port Ellen in there was because of the distinct whitewashing of the buildings.
It's fine. It's fine.
Which is not always the case up in that region of the Highlands. It's often bare stone. It's often that they're not whitewashed. Whiskey Rare saying, I have a Conville Moor 1984 from G&M, so at least they made it until then. Absolutely. So I think it was maybe 1986 Conville Moor closed. I have to say, G&M, it's great that we can get those products, but back then G&M was bringing out most of their products at 40 and 43%. But that doesn't mean you should turn your nose up at them, because they are amazing things. I've had the luxury of trying Conville Moor from back in those days. Glenvors as well from Inverness. Fantastic whiskies, even down at 40%. Quite amazing. Question 6. Lots of 5 out of 5s tonight. Which Western Highlands distillery was left to fall into a dilapidated state for over 60 years in the 20th century? It was just ignored. It was just left to rot for 60 years in the 20th century. A, Jura. B, Glengyle. C, Ben Nevis. These are incredible drams I've been pouring tonight. I'm really, really, really spoiled. It's fantastic. You're not sure? Tom? Sorry to come to you again, my friend. What do you think?
Fine. That's fine. Well, I'm not going to go for Glengyle because it's a Campbelltown. So I've excluded that straight away. I have excluded Ben Nevis on the theory that they were supplying the Japanese whiskey industry for quite a lot of time. So by exclusion, I'm going with A, Jura, but I don't know of them closing, but yeah, it's not one I'm sure of. But yeah, A.
How do you feel about that, Dave?
I'm going with C.
Mm.
I know Jura's a bit near Isla there, so I don't know if that's Western Highlands, and I haven't seen a C yet, or I guess I did. So I'm going with
yes,
C.
everybody would know that Glengyle is in Campbelltown, but they have to read the question, of course, and remember that it's Western Highlands. So yeah, it becomes a 50-50 between Jura and Ben Nevis. Unfortunately for Dave, Tom gets a point back again because it is Jura. 1910 they closed, and it took until the 1960s for Jura to come back to life again, or it was just after the turn of the century. And it was well into the 60s before Jura was brought back to life again. Glengyle, the similar fate happened to them, but of course, you can eliminate that because it's Campbelltown we're talking about. And of course, Ben Nevis has spent some time shuttered, but not too long. Question 7. Bushmills Distillery in Northern Ireland makes what kind of whiskey? This is easy, isn't it? A. Single malt and blended whiskey. B. Single malt only. C. Single grain only.
Wish you'd ask one I knew. Blind guesses, 7 in a row.
Lindsay Holman is saying, boo, the flood of the bees had me worried, but went wrong way on 50-50 between and a C. Mark is saying 5 out of 6, my good streak ends and the 10 will have to wait. Sorry, Mark, unfortunate, but you've been doing okay, still on a great score. Greg is saying, okay, I switched to C. That meant you chose Ben Nevis. There's a banana skin for you, Greg. Sorry, my friend. Peacebox, he is suggesting it was a banana skin, maybe a wee bit. Guys, give me what do you think is made at Bushmills? Do they make single malt and blends? Do they make single malt only and single grain only? And I'm going to clarify here. Specifically, the word is make. What they make there. What they distill there. Okay? What do they distill? Dave, give me your guess, buddy.
Just a wild guess. I'm going to say A.
You think?
For no real reason.
You can buy... Anyway, sorry. Tom, go ahead.
If we go down together. I've gone for an A as well.
Sorry, guys. At Bushmills, they only make single malt whiskey. If there is ever a Bushmills blend, it's sourced grain whiskey from Middleton in the Republic of Ireland, down in the south, down in Cork. So the Bushmills is a single malt whiskey distillery. That was kind of the point of that one. Sorry, Molasses has just stopped himself from swearing by saying, "Oh, son of a ... Sorry, Mo. Mark is also saying, "Oof." So is the grain from Cooley? DJ Scott Dog is saying no, it's from Middleton. Well, that's not guaranteed to be I'm sure that occasionally they may choose to source some grain from Cooley too. I don't know, but there are long-term agreements in place for them to get their grain from at Middleton. Question 8. Ireland's oldest existing whiskey distillery is... The answer to this is easy, controversial. A. Kilbeggan, B. Old Middleton, or C. Bushmills. Ireland's oldest existing whiskey distillery is... I'll let you chew for a bit, but I can see neither of you are particularly confident by your body language. That's okay. Mark is saying I'm giving credit for the right one there, as I never locked in the A and wanted to say B. Wink, wink. Graham Fraser saying, when Roy verified the question, I changed my answer just in time. Phew. Yes. Yeah, they do release blended whiskey from Bushmills, but they don't make grain there in order to provide grain for their own blends. Okay. There's going to be some discussions in the lounge over this one. I need to ask you guys for an answer. What do you think the oldest existing whiskey distillery in Ireland is? To clarify this, I'm talking about they have to have been making whiskey to be a distillery, right? You would agree with that? Yep. So is it A. Kilbeggan, B. Old Middleton, or C. Bushmills? Tom?
I'm going to go A. I know this was mentioned on the last vPub. but I can't remember specifically. So yeah, I'm going to go A.
And Dave?
We'll go down as a team again, brother.
Absolutely. It's a good way to play that one.
Nice.
If you read the marketing, if you listened to anybody about Bushmills, you could easily believe that 1608, they've been going since. That's the date that they talk about, and there was a license granted to distill whiskey in 1608. Bushmills Distillery did not exist until 1784. A few years before that, in 1757, Kilbeggan was brought to life, and then on its 200th anniversary, it was closed down in 1957. 50 years later, for its 250th anniversary, it was brought back to life again in 2007, with the oldest pot still in the world from Tullamore Distillery. So that's officially not only the oldest distillery in Ireland, Kilbeggan is the oldest whiskey distillery on the planet, still in production. Question 9. No Nonsense Whiskey celebrates his channel next week, but what was his first whiskey review? I'm being kinder to you. I'm going to put in a wee plug for my friend Vin on the 31st. That's Wednesday night. You can come along and join a lot of us to celebrate Vin's. Well, he's celebrating a couple of things, actually, but the first one was the fact that he's going to be, he broke 10,000 subscribers, which is a big deal and a niche in YouTube. Just going to get his link if I can find it. Yeah, I've got it here. I'll pop it in so that you can bookmark it. You can put a like on it, set a reminder, whatever you have to do. I'm going to drop that in. That's Wednesday night next week. And if you go to nononsensewhiskey.com, you're going to find a link to tasting packs. Maybe there's only a few days left, so you need to be in the UK. You can buy, if there are any left, maybe they're sold out. But I checked today and there were still some left. You can buy tasting packs to sip along with us, all the whiskies that's going to be shared that night. But what was his first ever whiskey review? Was it A, Scotch, B, bourbon, or C, Irish? On the face of it, that's easy, and yet maybe not. This is a bit of an asshat question, a soft asshat question. How is anybody going to remember Vin's the first ever whiskey review? I'm going to ask you to guess, Dave.
I'm going with bourbons. C. Wait, there's two
bourbon.
C's. You got an ACC, so B.
Oh, I apologise. That's my mistake. You're absolutely right. That's a typo there. A, Scotch, B, bourbon, C, Irish. B for bourbon.
Eleanor was kind of strong there for a second.
Yeah, that's right. Tom, what do you think?
So I'm not sure. I'm going to go for A. I knew Vin had the 10K coming up, so congrats on that if you're still listening, Vin. And yeah, A. Bit of a guess, though.
Well done, Tom. Unfortunate for Dave, it was Scotch. It was Aberlour 10. Have a look at this fresh-faced Vin here. This is his first ever video when he's staring into that lens, and probably, I think it must be difficult for him to look back in his first videos. It's certainly difficult for me to look back in my first ones, but we're glad that you're here, Vin. You're glad you're Mr. Consistent, glad you're still churning out the content, my friend, and very much hope you're still enjoying it. That's Aberlour 10, 5 years ago. Honestly, we're coming up on that video being 5 years ago. Well done, Vin. I look forward to hanging out with you on Wednesday night. Now, where does that leave us? Who is still scoring well after that? Malt Minion Chuck, good to see you, Chuck, on 8 out of 9. Fantastic. Jay Francis saying, I think earlier today on Thursday might have been a deadline for purchases. I think I say it was on his Instagram, although could be wrong. Apologies then if the tasting packs are gone, they're gone. There's over 100 of those tasting packs gone out. They've sold very, very well. Looking for anybody else that's on a high score. How are you scoring, guys? Dave, you're doing okay, aren't you?
I've already won. I'm higher than my normal, so I'm at 6 right. So I'm happy as could be.
Tom?
I'm on 6 as well.
So we just need one more, Tom, to get that 7 that we promised.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
and Dave, you've met the pass mark already. Fantastic, so good. Let's see. I'm trying to see if anybody's on 9 out of 9, but I'm not spotting it now. Maybe I need some folk to help me if there is somebody. Lots of 7s, couple of 8s. Whiskey Radar Roland is on an 8. Fantastic. So is Mark. Mark, you only just let that one slip. Ryan Sutherland is on an 8 as well. Fantastic. Okay. The asshat question is, I have to say, is this an asshat? It's a soft asshat, if it is. No, it's an asshat question. During the 45-minute direct drive from Glengarry to Knockdhu in the Eastern Highlands, you might stop off where? So this has to be en route, not a detour, not a significant detour. Has to be en route from the 45-minute drive from Glengarry to Knockdhu. So you'd be travelling northwest, I guess. Where would it be natural to make a stop off? A, Glendronach, B, Glencadam, or C, Glenglassaugh? This is a bit of an asshat. I like Eric's answer. He's saying Starbucks. Absolutely, Eric. Molasses is saying, I've officially lost count. 1 dram too many, perhaps. Mo, I have been keeping count for you. You're on 9 out of 9. All you've got to do to get a 10 out of 10, my friend, is answer this one correct, and you can celebrate. Jimmy Jazz, thanks for keeping score tonight. Ryan Sutherland is saying slow driver. Aye, we're taking in the scenery, Ryan. We're not in a rush here. 45 minutes. Google Maps suggested it was actually about 40 minutes. But aye, perhaps, Ryan. Dogs Have No Uncles is in. Good to see you. Lassie Hot Oatsman is here as well. Scott Allen, fantastic. Scott. Fraser Thistle. Des. Gino is in. Gino, good to see you. Bruno Martins. Wonderful stuff to see so many of the regulars right until the end. Greg J. Good to see you, Greg. Anthony Lambert. James Morgan. And I mentioned DJ Scott Dog earlier tonight. Okay, guys, you need to guess. Tom?
Okay, I've ruled out Glencadam, so I was unsure between Glenglassaugh and Glendronach. I'm going to go Glendronach, so A.
Dave?
He ruled out the one I was guessing, so I'm still going to go with B.
So you're going to go with Glencadam. You're not going to go down with your buddy, no?
Well, I wrote it down, so got to go with it.
Glendronach, Tom. Well done. Well done. Unfortunate, Dave. But Dave, come on, you got a fantastic pass mark tonight. An easy one. This was question 10 tends to be a bit of an asshat one these days. So let's see if any of us were able to keep it. Pixie Girl has pointed out, see his ass right in it, lol. Absolutely. Glenglassaugh has the ass in the asshat question. Absolutely right. Fantastic. So you're scoring, Dave, if I'm correct, you're scoring a 6 out of 10 tonight, a clear and easy pass mark for you. Tom, right on par. Another par round.
10. There you go.
Absolutely. Pints in the bar afterwards, no problem. Or drams, perhaps. Maybe well-aged and delicious treat drams as well.
I'll see what I can do here.
Let's see how the guys in the lounge are doing as well. 9 out of 10 for Graham Fraser. Only one guess to 9 out of 10. Another close one. Per the rule, I get a 10. So Molasses is celebrating. He got the last one right, so he gets his self-granted, or the one I granted. Absolutely, Molasses. You get 10 out of 10 tonight, buddy. It's fantastic. Well done to you. Marcus saying 9 out of 10. This was a fun one tonight. Thanks very much, Mark. Thanks to you. Looking to see if anybody's managed a 10. Gary Carew saying Dave's 10 whiskey experience starting to show now. Aye, that's right. Absolutely. Your whiskey experience is shining through, Dave. You've been learning by osmosis in the community over the last few months. I don't think, I was sure somebody would have got a clear 10 out of 10 tonight. So the plaudits go to Molasses, the guy who lost count and was given an honorary 10 out of 10 with pleasure. Listen, I hope everybody's worked out the spirit of what it is tonight. It's a privilege to be in Scotch and enjoying Scotch and whiskey together. All whiskey is delicious and enjoyable, and I know that we're going out there enjoying all whiskey. But when you come to Scotch, you have that privilege of being able to reach out and touch something that was made decades ago and still enjoy it, still afford it. Yes, it's a treat. But given the choice, I would rather have that there as a treat, as an extravagance of occasion, than not. It's a unique thing. We need to celebrate it and enjoy it. We have it just now. This Glencadam I've got in the glass just now is singing to me. Wonderful, wonderful whiskey. That Bunnahabhain, the Glengoyne, the Aaron 21, everything I've enjoyed tonight. I'm going to send out the samples. Chris Pollack, for your generosity, I'll send you something nice as well. I'll make sure it's something quite unique too. Will we raise a wee glass together, boys, to say goodnight?
Absolutely. I'm
going to raise a glass of this Bunnahabhain 28. I've got the tiniest sip left here of my North of Scotland 1970. That'll be the last thing I sip. That'll be the flavour I take to bed tonight. And but this Bunnahabhain, I'll raise a glass to you both. Tom, thanks very much for being brave and stepping up. Thanks for wearing the uniform, my friend. It's nice to have you as part of the community. And Dave, thank you so much for being patient. Not just 50 years patient, but also patient being part of the community, waiting for this thing to come around and happen. I'm so glad it finally happened for you. I'm very glad it worked out positively. Don't want to spoil the video. I'm looking forward to that coming out as well. Let's raise a glass and say thank you so much for joining me tonight, my friends.
Thank you for having me.
Sláinte. That's a content face, Dave. I was watching you there.
That's beautiful. Just love it.
Fantastic. Tom, good night, my friend. Thank you. Good night, Dave. Thank you very, very much. I'll see you. Stay in the background and we'll raise a wee glass afterwards, both of you. Wonderful stuff. Falsgraf is here saying cheers, sláinte, and good night. See you, everyone. Next week, I'll be bringing some guests on to do a concept that I tried about 6 or 7 months ago, the tasting notes thing, blind. You've got to decipher the drams just by reading the tasting notes. It was a bit clunky and I wasn't fully happy with the flow. It was the first time I tried it when we did it live that night. I'm going to try and bring a wee bit of spice to it. And I've sent out 3 extra sets to the community as well, so that we're going to have some people joining in from the community. 2 sets went out to the UK and a set went out to Belgium as well, so that they can participate and drink along. So it's going to be Julie, Ian, and Stefan that joins me for tasting notes next week. The week after that, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I can welcome in the boys that are behind Ardnahoe Distillery over on Islay. That's the Ling brothers. They're currently stranded. Lockdown has meant that they're stranded abroad right now, but it seems like their internet is stable enough to connect. And hopefully we're going to kind of bring the stories behind Ardnahoe Distillery, how a new 9th distillery can exist on Islay in modern times. And it's really quite stark and in contrast to everything that existed on Islay before, and I even include Kilholman in that as well. It's going to be an interesting thing, I hope. So fingers crossed that can happen the week after. And then the week after that, I'm just dialing in right now, but it's a fan favourite, let's say, a guest I've reached out to, and Roddy Graham. Roddy's coming back after much demand. Get that Roddy guy back again. It's great fun to hear. It's great to have that feedback. Wonderful, and that's what I'm looking forward to on the 15th. Fingers crossed that all of that can happen. Jerry Miller is saying, I've got a week to clean the house before my wife returns from Canada. Better start now. Thanks, Roy. I wish you Godspeed in cleaning the house. It's not fun. Bruno in Portugal is saying, thanks, Roy. I had a good time as always. See you on Sunday, of course. For patrons, I'm doing a lock-in, so it'll just be a private vPub on Sunday night for patrons, and I look forward to seeing you there, Bruno, my friend. Gary Carew is saying some fantastic celebrity whiskies discussed tonight. And popped into the notebook. Thanks, Aquavite and all. And remember, as we talked earlier, Gary, when you mentioned it's not meant to drive FOMO, these whiskies are going to be always available, or available for a long time to come. Neil Laverty is saying, thanks again, Roy, for everything. I had a super birthday. Cheers. Many happy returns, my friend. Good to have you in, buddy, on your 50th. Cheers. Probably could only happen in lockdown, right? Hellswood is saying, another fab vPub this evening. Thanks to Sláinte, Roy. Thanks to you, Helen. Thanks to Andy too. Greg's Whisky just saying, very cool vPub, Roy. And thanks for the guests. Benny Fries is saying, good night, everyone. Thanks, Roy. Sam C is saying, good night, Roy. Good night, Sam. I don't know if that's a new name. Am I missed? No, it's Sam C. Okay, I've suddenly confused myself. It's nice to have you in, Sam. Thank you very much. Good night to you too. Mark Minion is saying good night as well. Sláinte, good night, Chuck. Gino is saying, another great vPub for the books, Roy. Thanks. You're very, very welcome, Gino. Nice to have you in. Tommy Elmer is saying, Sláinte, Roy. Lots of people saying thank you. Oh, it jumps down. Scotch Down Under is here. Great show tonight. So glad to catch it live. You're welcome, Ken. Graham Fraser is saying Roddy, Royal Brackla, and Glenburgie. Yeah, that's 2 of his favourites. Absolutely, Stu Baby. Wonderful to hear Dave's story tonight. Great dram selection. Sweet dreams, Roy. Bring on the Rodster. Absolutely. Thanks, Ellen, is saying another fantastic vPub. Every Thursday is a welcome update to COVID life. Roddy material is always welcome. Callum Muir is saying, thoroughly enjoyed the vPub tonight, Roy. Cheers as always. See you Sunday. Rob Halford is saying, this has got me excited for my new house bottle, Redbreast 21. Aye, I believe it's a cracker as well. I've yet to try it. Hopefully it all comes off in the coming weeks. Dan Smidge is saying, is it possible for any of the Barflies to inform Eric Cunliffe that he's won the Strathyla painting? Oh, wow. I need a postal address from him. I can take care of that. I have Eric's details. Because Eric's back at work now, he's been fully focused on that. Glenn, I don't doubt. I can put you in touch with Eric, no problem. Congratulations, Eric Cunliffe, on snagging yourself a fantastic dancing midgie painting. Pixie Girl saying, thanks guys, first time here, had a blast. You're welcome anytime. It's wonderful to have welcomed you in here tonight, Pixie Girl. And nice spot on the ass hat question at the end. Peter Lee is saying, great night, many thanks sir. Thanks to you, Peter. Reeking Haddix Lewis is saying, cheers Roy, catch you on Sunday. And Chris Pollack is saying, thanks Roy. I'll raise this wee dram of Glencadam 21. Fantastic treat of a whiskey, its presentation and its age for £99. I'm very grateful to have it. But I'm very grateful, more grateful to have all of you here hanging out with me week after week. It means that I can look forward to my Thursday nights too. It's an absolute privilege to be here with you all. And until next week, I'll raise this glass and say you're all very dearly loved, and Slanchiva. Beautiful stuff.